Chapter 10:16. After asking this question, he closed his eyes and continued walking quietly, because Da Xiao believed that this old man would definitely give him an answer. How should I put it? It should be said that this is related to everyone's cultivation. When one's cultivation reaches a certain level, there will naturally be different states. And those manifestations do not necessarily have to be seen through the specific manifestation of Xian Qi. For example, someone like me, with just a glance, I can see through anyone's cultivation level, no matter how you conceal it or what methods you use to conceal it, because everyone's essence, qi, and spirit are different. He laughed hoarsely and said, "A person's essence, qi, and spirit are different in the morning and afternoon. Today and tomorrow it will be a different scene. Because the Xian Qi is constantly advancing, it will naturally bring about changes in the essence, qi, and spirit. To put it bluntly, this matter is not worth mentioning. But if you want to see through this, it's extremely difficult." Jun Moxie nodded silently and continued walking forward. But after a few steps, he finally realized something was wrong. Essence, qi, and spirit. In this world, it seemed like no one had ever said such words before. Even this form of address had never been used before. However, these three words came out of this person's mouth. In that instant, Jun Moxie only felt all the blood in his body rushing to his head. He asked in a hoarse voice, "You? Could you be the 9 Nether First Young Master?" Perhaps only this number 1 madman who had been to Earth could say these three words: essence, qi, and spirit. Another thing that gave Jun Moxie inspiration was the phrase, "In these 10,000 years, this old man has only seen you." This phrase was the only one. Who could live for 10,000 years? "You are the 9 Nether First Young Master?" The moment this question was asked, the air instantly fell silent. In the entire underground space, there was only the sound of Jun Moxie's footsteps that continued to move forward. After a long, long time, that old voice sighed deeply. With endless nostalgia, he murmured, "That is my master's name. Every time I hear it, it is as if I am still in front of Master, receiving his teachings. Perhaps only when I was with Master did my life have meaning. Now, every day is just a repeat of the day before, pale and powerless, Master? The 9 Nether First Young Master is his master?" Jun Moxie was shocked and shouted, You the first owner of the Misty Mansion? The founder of the Misty Mansion? The ancestor of the Miao family? Miao Qingqing? Haha, you finally figured it out?" Miao Qingqing's voice was faint and illusory, but there was a hint of joy in his words. "Miao Qingqing, it's actually him. So it's really Miao Qingqing." Jun Moxie's heart was in turmoil. He had actually met one of the 4 great disciples of the 9 Nether First Young Master that only existed in legends. Back then, the 9 Nether First Young Master had taken in 4 disciples: Bu Yuntian, Yu Tsanghai, Meng Qiongxiao, Miao Qingqing. These were 4 legendary names that had shaken the continent for 10,000 years. With a chuckle, he stepped on the mortal world and strolled up into the sky. Bu Yuntian, one of the 3 holy lands, the founder of Hermitage. The vast sea blocks the flowing clouds, and a single eye seizes the vault of heaven. Yu Tsanghai, one of the 3 holy lands, the founder of the illusory blood sea. There are no heroes in the world, but there are Qiongxiao in one's dreams. Meng Qiongxiao, one of the 3 holy lands, the founder of the supreme golden city. A sword to the south, a saber to topple a city. Miao Qingqing, independent of the 3 holy lands, independent of the Xian continent, with its own independent space, the founder of the Misty Mansion. These 4 people, not one of them wasn't an elite of the world. Not one of them wasn't a hero of the world. A legend among legends. Jun Moxie would never have imagined that he would actually meet such a legendary existence on this trip to the Misty Mansion. Jun Moxie was in a state of agitation, but Miao Qingqing was sighing lightly, as though he was reminiscing the past. After a long time, he said in a low voice, "These names are really too far away. The world of today is no longer the world of the past. Then, since you're here, what about the other three? Are they all here as well?" June Moxie asked carefully. "That year, the four of us came from the same sect, and I was the youngest." Miao Qingqing's voice was filled with nostalgia as he continued, "The four of us formed our own sects, and from the beginning, we got along well with each other. But as time went by, there were more and more conflicts. The four of us fought for 1,000 years. A whole 1,000 years, and in that 1,000 years, all four of us had died a few times. Her. Thinking back to the past, the dangers and the bone-deep hatred, Miao Qingqing only had a lot of nostalgia in his heart. It was as though all the fighting and killing with his senior brothers was just a way for them to play around and bond with each other. His voice was filled with emotions and endless reluctance to part with them. In the end, everyone finally grew tired of it, and I was the youngest disciple that Master doted on the most, and obtained this independent misty mansion. The three of them, after Master left for 1,000 years, finally felt that there was nothing interesting in the world anymore. Even the fights between them were getting tired of it. Thus, in 100 years, they broke through the void and went to look for Master. Miao Qingqing's voice was filled with deep emotions. I still remember that day. The four of us had a meal together. That time, it was a dish of radish stew personally made by eldest senior brother, and 3 days later, eldest senior brother Bu Yuntian broke through the blue dome of heaven and stepped onto the boundless path. Jun Dashao was stunned. Radish stew? What kind of dish was that? Another 10 years later, second senior brother summoned us, and the three of us had another meal together. It was a dish made by second senior brother Yu Tsanghai, called dragon fish stew and bear paw. I've always been a vegetarian and never touched meat. But that day, I made an exception and ate a bear paw and drank a large bowl of dragon fish soup. Similarly, 3 days later, second senior brother soared into the blue skies from the sea of blood, never to return again. 50 years later, third senior brother's divine sense pierced through the misty mansion and invited me for a gathering. That day, the two of us sat in front of a table of delicacies, but we didn't eat anything. Only a few drops of tears silently fell from our eyes. 3 days after that, third senior brother also disappeared without a trace. Jun Moxie's mouth was agape, as though he was listening to a fairy tale that was not pleasant to listen to at all. In the eyes of these people, breaking through the void and leaving was like eating cabbage from the market? But Da Xiao knew that all of this was real. I still remember third senior brother's words before he left. "Little four, we'll wait for you." But until now, almost 10,000 years have passed. I'm still here. Miao Qingqing's voice was filled with despair. But why didn't you go over? Since your 3 senior brothers could do it, there's no reason why you can't. Jun Moxie could not help but ask curiously. The moment he said those words, he immediately realized that he might have said something he shouldn't have, because the entire space was suddenly filled with an indescribable sense of sorrow. At the same time, Jun Moxie saw a bright light in front of him. He'd already arrived at an abnormally vast underground space. But there was still no sign of Miao Qingqing. After a long time, Miao Qingqing's unique voice rang out once more. How could I not want to go? But when Master saw the 3 disciples breaking through the void one after another, he suddenly became annoyed and worried that more people would go over. With a wave of his hand, he completely sealed the gate to heaven of the Xian continent. Jun Moxie's eyebrows twitched violently. F***ck, isn't that too powerful? With a wave of his hand, he completely sealed the gate to heaven of the continent. F***ck me. This young master even wanted to challenge me to a duel? He's overestimating this young master a little too much. Jun Dashao looked at his own arms and legs and could not help but shiver uncontrollably. This 9 nether first young master really left one speechless. He was worried that his disciples would come looking for him, so he directly came up with a plan to kill them, but the more it was like this, the more this old man wanted to go over and take a look. In the 2,000 years after that, this old man's strength had already reached the basic requirements to pass through the gate to heaven, and even exceeded it by a large margin. I tried to break through the gate to heaven 3 times, hoping to break through it. Unfortunately, as he spoke to here, he let out a long sigh, looking somewhat dejected. The first time, this old man suffered a backlash and had to recuperate for 300 years. The second time, although I did not suffer too much backlash, I was still unable to break through. When it came to the third time, which was 8,400 years ago, this old man used all his strength to break through. Miao Ching laughed bitterly. In the end, I still did not manage to break through. Instead, I accidentally caused half of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains to collapse. Jun Moxie was completely dumbfounded. He could clearly hear the sound of his eyeballs popping out of his eye sockets and falling onto the ground. F***ck. After being stunned for a long time, Jun Dashao finally regained the ability to speak. But the words that came out of his mouth were actually these 2 words, so the real culprit was here. It was precisely because half of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains had collapsed that he discovered the existence of such an evil race. Strange races. And it was also from there that the endless war for seizing the heavens began, so the trouble caused by the strange races was actually caused by this fellow in front of him. And the root of it all was because he was trying to break through that so-called path to heaven and accidentally caused half of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains to collapse. Jun Dashao was speechless. What kind of F***king energy was that? Just an unintentional action, and he actually caused the highest mountain in this world to collapse. He had seen it with his own eyes. The sturdiness of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains was definitely not something that ordinary energy could shake, much less destroy, after which, Miao Ching's voice was filled with regret as he continued, "That day when I destroyed that mountain, I already knew that things weren't good. That Pillar of Heaven's mountains is a spiritual mountain that my master had placed a seal on back then. That year, my master accidentally discovered a strange race. But because those people were too disgusting, my master couldn't be bothered to kill them. Hence, he decided to increase the height of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains and set up another seal, causing them to suffer for eternity. But it was this old man's collision that allowed those disgusting races to gain a chance to enter the Xian continent." Miao Ching sighed sorrowfully. At that time, this old man was filled with regret and wanted to kill my way over and destroy that bunch of things with a single sword. Chapter 10:17. Killing them all with a single sword strike was enough to topple a city. Then, should this daddy also change my name one day? I'll just call myself Toppling the Nation or Toppling the Heavens or something like that. But from then on, I don't know if it was because this old man was trying to break through the path to heaven, or because, of some other reason, a ferocious heavenly punishment suddenly descended on this old man. This old man was actually struck so hard that his soul was almost destroyed. This old man used all his remaining strength to escape back to the Misty Mansion in a sorry state. Even until today, I still can't take a single step out. Can't take a single step out? Jun Moxie asked in bewilderment. That's right. As long as this old man appears, the rainbow tribulation cloud will immediately gather. Furthermore, it will not stop until this old man dies. This old man can only hide here to avoid being detected by the heavenly punishment, giving me a chance to live on. I can't remember clearly when it was, but this old man had tried to go out once. But before this old man could even leave this underground cave, the Misty Mansion outside had already met with a calamity. Thus, this old man can only stay here forever. Miao Ching sighed helplessly. Heavenly punishment? What kind of heavenly punishment is it exactly? To think that even an expert like you would have to retreat. Jun Moxie furrowed his brows. towards heavenly tribulation, he had never been afraid. One of the cheats of the Hongjun Pagoda was that it could absorb the heavenly tribulation and convert it into the purest heaven-earth spiritual chi. From another perspective, the heavenly tribulation was the most ideal nourishment for the Hongjun Pagoda. If it was just heavenly punishment, Jun Moxie almost wanted to help him absorb it. World-extinguishing wild lightning. Miao Qingqing's voice carried a hint of lingering fear. World-extinguishing wild lightning? A type of lightning tribulation? Could it be that there was no way to resist it? Jun Moxie was extremely puzzled. Lightning tribulation was a thing that could be experienced from the venerable realm onward. Even if he didn't have the advantage of cheating, there were still plenty of experts who could overcome it. How could an expert like Miao Qingqing not be able to withstand it? Heavenly punishment. How can the world-exterminating wild lightning be mentioned in the same breath as a normal lightning tribulation? Firstly, its scale is at least 10,000 times larger than a normal lightning tribulation. Once the heavenly punishment is formed, it will cover a vast area, reaching everywhere. The wild lightning connects the heavens above and the earth below. Any one of them will be as thick as a small mountain. Secondly, its power. This lightning is purple in color, and its power is so great that it's hard to imagine. Everything in the world, once struck by it, will be instantly and soundlessly turned into fine powder. Just these two traits alone are already extremely troublesome to deal with. However, this old man still has a way to deal with them. However, the third trait is the most troublesome. This old man is completely helpless against it. Miao Qingqing sighed. Was there anything more troublesome than these two characteristics? This junior is willing to hear the details. Jun Moxie was greatly taken aback. From Miao Qingqing's description, Da Xiao already understood that this world-exterminating wild lightning had the two traits of large area of effect, indiscriminate attack and irresistible. These two traits were already too terrifying, but there was actually an even more terrifying third trait? If it's just the first two traits, with this old man's methods, although I wouldn't dare to say that I would be able to deal with them easily, I would still be able to barely deal with them. But the thing that truly puts this old man in a difficult spot is that once this heavenly punishment is formed, as long as I, the target, do not disappear completely, it will continue on. That year, I tried to deal with it for 7 days and 7 nights, and in the end, my Xian Qi was completely exhausted, but the heavenly punishment did not show any signs of weakening. That's why this old man said that if I can't pass this heavenly punishment, I can only stay in this damnable place forever. So that's how it is. Jun Moxie's heart also began to pound. If it was only the first two traits, Da Xiao was confident that with the help of the Hongjun Pagoda, he would be able to deal with it. But now that he understood the third trait of the heavenly punishment, the might of the world-exterminating wild lightning was so terrifying, and he did not know how long it would last. If the heavenly punishment's strength was too ridiculous, and the Hongjun Pagoda exploded, wouldn't that be the end of him? After all, Jun Moxie did not know how much the Hongjun Pagoda could withstand, and he did not know how strong the world-exterminating wild lightning was. If he tried it rashly, Jun Moxie knew that he would not be able to take such a risk. But the Hongjun Pagoda was his greatest trump card. Little lad, this old man has been talking to you for so long, but I still don't know your real name? Miao Qingqing took the initiative to change the topic. To him, the mere mention of the world-exterminating wild lightning was an extremely depressing matter. My name is Jun Moxie. Jun Moxie said honestly. Since the other party had already seen through his true strength, continuing to hide would only make him a laughing stock. Oh, this name is not bad. Miao Qingqing clearly knew nothing about the name of the evil monarch. Righteous path of the world, this life's name is Emocia. Not bad, not bad. Jun Moxie rubbed his nose awkwardly. Was there such a meaning to his name? Even he himself did not know about it. June Moxie, these few days, the misty mansion has been in turmoil, the heavens and earth have changed positions, and the flow of water has been reversed. This was all done by you, right? Miao Qingqing asked after a moment of silence. Even if Senior did not say it, this Junior also has his doubts. Within the misty mansion, the Zhan family's ambitions were clear for all to see. They even used an extremely sinister method to steal the luck of the Miao family to strengthen themselves. Senior, as the founder of the Misty Mansion, the ancestor of the Miao family, why did you not interfere in such a shady business? At the very least, you should have informed the current head of the Miao family about this. June Moxie furrowed his brows as he asked. Some things are not something that can be done just because one wants to do it. Miao Qingqing sighed again, and his tone became one of extreme disappointment. At the same time, a cloud of smoke rose from the hall, condensing into the figure of a person. This person wore a tall crown on his head, and was dressed in green robes. His features were extremely lean, and his figure was tall. He stood in the center of the hall with his hands clasped behind his back. After a while, the figure became clearer and clearer. This person's face was fair and beardless, and just from his appearance, one could tell that he was only in his 30s or 40s. But when this person's eyes opened and closed, although there was no light, they seemed to be filled with a strange meaning. When he opened his eyes, it was as if the entire world was filled with light. But when he closed his eyes, it was as if the entire world had been plunged into darkness. At this moment, this strange pair of eyes was staring at June Moxie. Then, that person gently moved his feet, walked step by step from the center of the hall to the stairs, and slowly sat down. June Moxie's eyes lit up, because when Miao Qingqing walked, June Moxie seemed to feel as if a dazzling galaxy had appeared before his eyes. Within it, millions of stars moved with Miao Qingqing's unhurried footsteps, following a mystical trajectory. In this world, there was actually someone who could reach such a level. At this moment, the shock in June Moxie's heart had reached an indescribable level. Miao Qingqing's cultivation had truly reached the level of seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. And such an expert was still sealed on this continent with a casual wave of the nether first young master's hand, unable to leave no matter what from this. One could see how strong the nether first young master was. There's no need to be envious. I believe that one day you will also reach my level. With your current age and speed of improvement, that day will definitely not be too far away. Miao Qingqing smiled lightly, and it was as if spring had bloomed in this smile. The rivers thawed, and all living things revived. Yes, I also think so. June Moxie nodded his head, his expression still the same as before. A look of praise appeared in Miao Qingqing's eyes. If June Moxie had said a few words of modesty, it meant that his state of mind had not reached the state of being unaffected by all things. In other words, there were still some flaws. But June Moxie agreed with it calmly. This included extraordinary self-confidence, as well as unshakable determination. It was enough to prove that even in the face of Miao Qingqing's terrifying pressure, his state of mind was still not in a fluster. This was the most precious thing. Speaking of the matters of the Zhan family, it all started tens of thousands of years ago. At that time, Master suddenly returned to the Xian continent after disappearing for 1,000 years, bringing back a few books. And after I took over the Misty Mansion, I discovered that those books were left in this space. Miao Qingqing smiled bitterly and said, one of the books recorded the art of feng shui. Since I had nothing to do, I studied it, and discovered that there were indeed many profound principles recorded within. If I could truly grasp it and use it to its fullest potential, it might not necessarily be inferior to the highest realm of Xianqi. Furthermore, it even contained the laws of heaven and earth. This old man studied it bitterly for 200 years, and finally had some success. That day, this old man's 8 disciples were all practicing in front of the hall. This old man had just grasped a wondrous technique, and was in a good mood. In a moment of excitement, I actually divined the fate of the various families. And today's calamity was precisely because of that divination. At that time, I used the art of feng shui to look at my 8 disciples, and discovered that the fate of 7 of them was high and low, rising and falling. However, the source of their fate had never been lost, and it would accompany the main palace of the Misty Mansion for tens of thousands of years. However, only the disciple surnamed Jean showed signs of exhaustion, and 10,000 years later, his family would be destroyed. Miao Qingqing shook his head helplessly. At that time, I said it out loud. At that time, I told my 6th disciple, Zhan Kuang. I told him to take note that in the long years to come, it would be best for the descendants of the family to do good deeds, and not have any desire for power. Furthermore, they must not harm human lives. Perhaps, due to the accumulated fortune of 10,000 generations, the heavens will be able to sense it, and this crisis will be averted unknowingly. Jun Moxie laughed bitterly in his heart. You're really too naive. The vile nature of human nature is something that even sages cannot eradicate, much less humans. How could the Zhan family be willing to lay low for 10,000 years? Possessing peerless divine skills and power that could overturn the heavens and the earth, yet he could only leave his power and do good deeds. He could only give, but not receive anything in return. It might be possible for one person to do it for a lifetime, but to do it for generations, how could that be possible? At that time, Zhan Kuang asked, Master, other than this method, is there any other method that can resolve this crisis? Chapter 10:18. Jun Mo Xie was very astute. So, he immediately understood the meaning behind her word. As expected, Miao Qingqing continued. At that time, this old man laughed heartily and said that it's hard to change fate, but there are always variables that can be changed. As the saying goes, everything depends on one's own effort. It's not that there is no way. If someone can sense it when the luck of the Zhan clan is about to disperse, then at the cost of millions of lives, they can forcefully change the fate of the other clans into their own. At that time, there will be a huge change. The only problem is that this method seems feasible, but it's actually a huge risk. If it fails, not only will the clan be destroyed, there will also be eternal retribution. As he spoke until here, he sighed. The 6th disciple, Zhan Kuang, could be said to have the best aptitude among my 8 disciples. If he could focus on cultivating Xianqi, his achievements in the future might not be lower than this old man's. Miao Qingqing said regretfully. But from that day onwards, he actually went down the wrong path. Senior, please don't blame me. This is also within reason. That day you explained this matter in front of the 8 disciples. Furthermore, only the Zhan clan was on the verge of extinction, while the other 7 clans were still safe and sound. Zhan Kuang naturally felt uncomfortable in his heart. Jun Moxie said. So, he passed down this matter? To change the fate of the Zhan clan? No. Miao Qingqing shook his head. Many years later, the 7 disciples passed away one by one. This old man set down a rule that forbade the disciples from using the holy nascent soul technique to recultivate. Because if they were to recultivate, they would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort, and their cultivation speed would be extremely fast. However, the lightning tribulation they would have to endure would be 4 times greater than normal. Sooner or later, they would not be able to escape the tragic fate of having their souls scattered. Thus, they might as well choose to reincarnate and cultivate from the beginning. As long as their souls are not destroyed, they will return one day, and it will be easier for them to pass the final trial. When the 7 disciples passed away, this old man placed a soul imprint on their souls. This was to ensure that they could reincarnate safely, and as long as they worked hard enough, they would be able to roam the world freely. But Zhan Kuang went against this old man's orders and did not choose to reincarnate. Miao Qingqing continued. At that time, the 9 nether young masters had already appeared. Because of Master's affection, this old man strictly ordered the disciples of Misty Mansion not to kill the young masters of Nine Nether. He could expel them, but he absolutely could not kill them. That year, the Nine Nether sixth young master was wreaking havoc in the pugilistic world, and the three Holy Lands declared that no one could stop him. Zhan Kuang suddenly volunteered to fight. After that battle, the Nine Nether sixth young master was heavily injured. Before he could escape back to the Nine Nether passageway, he was surrounded and killed by the people from the Holy Lands. As for Zhan Kuang, he had disappeared without a trace. It's said that Zhan Kuang's soul was destroyed in the battle with the Nine Nether sixth young master. At that time, although the Nine Nether sixth young master had the Nine Nether divine technique and was rather powerful, Zhan Kuang had already received my teachings. Even if he lost, it was impossible for his soul to be destroyed. In fact, this old man reckons that the chances of victory between them is only 50-50. In fact, Zhan Kuang might even be slightly stronger. After all, he is this old man's proudest disciple. The result of the battle was really unexpected. This old man was extremely sad at that time, and even fasted for 3 months for Zhan Kuang's sake. But when I returned, I discovered that the mysterious book that Master had left behind had actually disappeared without a trace. From that time onwards, this old man was certain that Zhan Kuang had not died. Instead, he had hidden himself. Miao Qingqing laughed bitterly. But he did not know that the final stage of cultivating Xian Qi can only be broken through with Master's personal guidance. This is the true secret of the void-shattering realm. Although Zhan Kuang's cultivation was already extremely high at that time, he had not reached the final step. So even if he could conceal himself, he did not have long to live. He could only borrow the power of the martial disintegration realm again and again to reincarnate the Holy Infant. Speaking of which, Zhan Kuang can be said to have put in a lot of effort. And in the recent 2,000 years, this old man could clearly feel that the Miao family's luck had changed, and it was gradually decreasing year by year. And the Zhan family's luck was rising with a boundless bloodthirsty aura. This was greatly inconsistent with the divination from back then, and Zhan Kuang must have made a move, using a variable to affect fate. But since I'm here, as long as I make a move, the world-destroying wild lightning will be able to destroy the entire Misty Mansion. So this old man. He chuckled lightly. As long as the Misty Mansion is not destroyed, whether it's the Zhan family or the Miao family, it's all the same. Although this old man is the ancestor of the Miao family, I cannot sacrifice the entire Misty Mansion for the sake of the Miao family. As for informing the current family head of the Miao family about this matter, it is even more impossible. The moment it is reported, it will cause a war between the two families. With the Zhan family's accumulated strength, and with the support of Zhan Kuang's Holy Infant, the Miao family is definitely not their match. It will only hasten the destruction of the Miao family, and even the destruction of the entire Misty Mansion. This is something that this old man does not want to see the most. So this old man did not make a move, nor did I tell anyone about this matter. But the will of the heavens has long been decided. It's hard for a person to change fate. Miao Qingqing laughed lightly. With your interference, the Zhan family's luck can be said to be reduced to less than 1/10 of its original state. Destruction is imminent. Looks like this old man is still one step behind in his calculations. The will of the heavens is like a blade. Who dares to defy it? The so-called defying the heavens and changing fate is nothing more than a joke, a complete and utter joke. June Moxie said lightly. If the will of the heavens is as it is, then it is as it is. Miao Qingqing paused for a moment before chuckling. Well said, what a good if the will of the heavens is as it is. However, I say that my will is the will of the heavens. June Moxie's brows twitched as he laughed evilly. So what if it's the will of the heavens? Why can't I defy it? Arrogant enough. Truly evil enough. Miao Qingqing looked at him from the corner of his eyes. Speak, what is your true purpose for coming to my misty mansion? What do you want? My purpose? It's very simple, I just want to take a few 7-colored holy fruit. Jun Moxie chuckled and did not hide anything. If there's a chance to transplant a few 7-colored holy tree, I'd be more than happy to. 7-colored holy fruits. Miao Qingqing furrowed his brows. How many? I reckon that 100 or so groups would be enough. I'm not a greedy person. Jun Moxie chuckled. 100 sets? Not greedy? Even with Miao Qingqing's mental fortitude, he could not help but roll his eyes. This is not greedy? Are you dreaming, kid? Miao Qingqing really treated Jun Moxie's words as a joke. 100 sets of 7-colored holy fruits? From the time the Misty Mansion was built until now, it might not even be that many, right? Old Man Miao snorted coldly and said, Just now, or that extremely pure life chi? Was that something you sent out? Life chi? Jun Moxie stared blankly for a moment before understanding dawned on him. So that was the case, because he had used the Tree of Life, this old fellow several thousand zhang underground had actually sensed it. Wasn't this fellow's nose a little too sensitive? That's right. This old man sensed the scent of the Holy Spirit tree earlier. Miao Qingqing looked at him. There should be someone heavily injured up there, and you used the Holy Spirit tree to treat them, right? Treating injuries? That's not wrong. But what I used was not some Holy Spirit tree. Jun Moxie said. Could it be that Senior called me down for this matter? What is that Holy Spirit tree? That Holy Spirit tree is a strange little tree that Master got his hands on from who knows where. Legend has it that it has the miraculous effect of reviving the dead, and it has a miraculous effect on souls. It also has many other mysterious abilities. Master raised it for 1,000 years, but it never grew up. It was only later that he found out that this God Spirit tree could only grow in the purest spiritual chi without any impurities. But how could there be such a place in the world? The place where Master grew this tree was the place with the purest spiritual chi in the entire Xian continent. Since even Master's place could not grow, it meant that this tree could not grow in the Xian continent. In other words, no matter how miraculous that tree was, it was still a piece of trash. In a fit of anger, Master abandoned it at the peak of a snowy mountain, leaving it to fend for itself. Leaving it to fend for itself. I haven't seen it for a very, very long time. Miao Qingqing let out a long sigh. Today, I called you down because I wanted to take a look at that tree. We can be considered old friends. Seeing it is like seeing Master watering it in the past. Secondly, this old man suffered the heavenly punishment that year, and some of my spiritual sense was destroyed. I also wanted to borrow the healing power of that tree. Although the Holy Spirit tree is not fully formed yet, it can still be of some help. So that's the case. Jun Mo Xie pondered for a moment. Then, he revealed an awkward expression on his face as he spoke in a gentle voice. This junior was fortunate enough to find this tree that day. After that, I don't know how, but this strange little tree inexplicably drilled into my body from my palm. Now, although I can feel its existence and can use part of its power, if I want to take it out, I'm powerless even if I want to. It was better to be safe than sorry, so it was better to be safe than sorry. Even if the person opposite him was Miao Qingqing, Jun Moxie would definitely not reveal the Hongjun Pagoda's greatest secret. Furthermore, it was not impossible for him to treat Miao Qingqing, but he definitely could not take it out to sell a favor. The Qian Sun Serpent Queen was still relying on this tree to hang on to her life. If Miao Qingqing needed to stay behind to be treated, then what should he do? And there was another point. That little tree was not small anymore, and his Hongjun Pagoda was the place with the purest spiritual chi. If Miao Qingqing became greedy, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. There's actually such a miraculous thing? Miao Qingqing stared at him for a moment, and finally said, "No wonder your aptitude is so extraordinary. So it's because of the Holy Spirit tree. Speaking of which, this matter can also be considered reasonable. If there's a place in this world that is absolutely pure, without any impurities, it can only be in the meridians of the human body. The Holy Spirit tree is relying on your body to extend its life force, and because of that, you've obtained an aptitude far surpassing that of an ordinary person. That Holy Spirit tree is truly difficult for this junior to take out, but if senior doesn't mind, this junior can try to treat it for you. How about it?" June Moxie probed. This was a heavenly good karma. If Miao Qingqing was willing to accept, then June Moxie would be able to live in the Misty Mansion without any obstructions. In fact, he might even be able to ask for 107-colored holy fruit trees. That's fine too. Miao Qingqing looked at him for a moment before stretching out a hand and closing his eyes. June Moxie stepped forward and took hold of his hand. Closing his eyes, he circulated the energy of the Tree of Life, channeling it into Miao Qingqing's hand. The rest of the matter was naturally left to Miao Qingqing himself. After a long, long time, Miao Qingqing let out a long breath, and a look of joy appeared on his face. "You can let go now. Although your soul has not fully recovered, it has already regained its vitality. In time, it should be able to return to its previous state. The life energy of that Holy Spirit tree is much stronger than before, and it should be able to bring out the best in each other." As he spoke, Miao Qingqing looked at him with a faint smile. "With this old man's identity, I can't take advantage of you for free. How about this?" He paused for a moment before continuing. "I can see that you've also fallen into a bottleneck, and you're just a step away from breaking through. Let this old man lend you a helping hand. Today there were only 2 updates. Recommending a book, Spring of the Great Tang, by the Young Fat God. This guy seems to be a super lascivious person. Just by looking at the title of the book, it makes people gasp in amazement. Today I was still saying, why didn't this guy write Autumn of the Great Tang? Why did he have to write about the Great Tang, spring?" Chapter 10:19. Without waiting for June Dashao to reply, Miao Qingqing suddenly stretched out his hand, and a warm hand appeared above June Moxie's head. June Moxie was given a huge fright. In truth, with the sensitivity of an assassin, Dashao had been using his mental power to sense his surroundings. If the other party made any movements, he would immediately hide in the Hongjun Pagoda. But even with Dashao's powerful mental power, he did not even notice how this hand had appeared above his head. If this old man really had malicious intentions, Dashao would truly be in for a tragedy. Following that, he felt an unprecedented surge of pure Xian Qi surging out from his Baihui acupuncture point, as though the floodgates had been opened and the rivers were flowing in reverse, instantly filling up his limbs and bones. Dashao wanted to say, "I'm not cultivating Xian Qi, don't waste your energy." But under the tyrannical flow of Miao Qingqing's true Qi, he was actually unable to say a single word. And June Moxie was pleasantly surprised to discover that what Miao Qingqing was sending in was actually the purest heaven-earth Yuan Qi. An unimaginable amount of Yuan Qi surged through June Moxie's meridians, and the art of unlocking heaven's fortune in June Moxie's body began to circulate on its own. With a spin of his dantian, a large amount of heaven-earth Yuan Qi was converted into primordial violet Qi, which flowed through his meridians in the opposite direction, breaking through the 6th-level barrier of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. A look of astonishment appeared on Miao Qingqing's face. This kid's meridians were like a bottomless pit. They were actually able to absorb the origin energy of heaven and earth that he guided endlessly. The amount of heaven-earth Yuan Qi he was sending in was enough to burst 3 Holy Emperor Grade 4 experts. But he could still sense that this brat's meridians were not filled to the brim yet. In other words, he had not reached the point of breaking through yet. This was an inconceivable matter. He could clearly sense that this brat was about to break through, so why was he still so difficult to deal with? Miao Qingqing's eyes flashed, and he suddenly increased the output of his yuan qi. Finally, done. Miao Qingqing slowly retracted his hand, looking at Jun Dashao with a strange expression. He'd already sensed that the meridians in this kid's body had already been completely filled and were unable to accommodate the origin energy that he poured in anymore. But why was there still no sign of a breakthrough? What kind of martial arts did this kid practice? Jun Mo Xie didn't seem to understand, but Miao Qingqing was extremely clear. In this short 1 hour, he'd used up 1,000 years' worth of his cultivation's worth of origin qi. Miao Qingqing had cultivated bitterly for 1,000 years. What kind of concept was that? In the most conservative way, if the one sitting in front of Miao Qingqing was Miao Xiaomiao, then the energy that Miao Qingqing had lost to Jun Dashao would at least allow Miao Xiaomiao to advance all the way to the Saint Venerable level without any danger. One had to know that Miao Xiaomiao was only a venerable right now. Compared to the Saint Venerable level, there was still the Saint, the Holy Emperor, and the Saint Venerable. Just these realms alone were about 40 to 50 levels apart. But what Miao Qingqing didn't know was Jun Moxi's martial arts were completely different from any other martial arts in the continent. His art of unlocking heaven's fortune relied purely on this kind of external force. It could only stabilize his foundation, and would never be able to break through. If he really wanted to break through, he could only wait for a sudden inspiration and break through in an instant. But if that kind of opportunity didn't come, even if Miao Qingqing transferred all his energy to him, he wouldn't be able to break through in the slightest, because that kind of enlightenment would directly affect the breakthrough of the Hongjun Pagoda, and it was not something that a human could achieve. Rather than saying that Miao Qingqing was benefiting Jun Moxi, it was more accurate to say that he was benefiting the Hongjun Pagoda. However, under Miao Qingqing's force-feeding, Jun Moxi had indeed been pushed to the brink of a breakthrough. Right now there was only that thin layer of window paper that had yet to be pierced. He'd promised the other party that he would help the other party break through, but in the end, he did not manage to do so. With Miao Qingqing's status, he naturally felt extremely embarrassed. After a long time, Jun Moxi woke up from his meditative state, feeling his entire body brimming with energy. Furthermore, the range of his divine sense and spiritual sense was vastly different from before. The originally golden qi flow in his meridians had also turned into a light purple color. He couldn't help but be overjoyed. From the looks of it, the day he broke through to the 6th level was just around the corner. You can leave now. The martial arts that you cultivate are truly strange. Even with this old man's knowledge, I'm unable to help you. Looks like I've broken my promise to a junior like you. Miao Qingqing's voice was still emotionless. Although Miao Qingqing's voice was still emotionless, Jun Moxi could still hear the strange meaning behind his words. Senior is too polite. Today, this junior has already benefited greatly. If this junior is successful in the future, I will definitely help senior resolve the heavenly punishment. Jun Moxi said with a smile. Right now, he could already feel that under Miao Qingqing's infusion of energy, the Hongjun Pagoda had undergone some unknown changes. Many thanks. After hearing those words, Miao Qingqing looked deeply at Jun Dashao for a long time before finally saying. He did not express any doubt towards Jun Moxi's words. Instead, he thanked him. As if he had a certain degree of confidence in resolving the heavenly punishment for Jun Moxi, after saying those 2 words, his figure turned into a cloud of smoke, disappearing from the great hall. You can leave now. You really have too many secrets on you. If you stay here for too long, this old man might not be able to resist the urge to investigate your background. That way, it won't be good for either you or me. Miao Qingqing's voice drifted over. Yes. Jun Moxi nodded. Suddenly, he discovered that his body had floated up, and in an instant, he had already traversed an unknown distance. When he opened his eyes again, He was already in front of Miao Jingyun, Miao Dao, and Miao Jian. Seeing Jun Dashao's sudden appearance, Miao Jingyun and the other two were also given a fright. This had nothing to do with courage. For a living person to suddenly appear in front of them, even the calmest person would be shocked. Furthermore, the way Jun Moxie had appeared had completely exceeded the scope of anyone's imagination. You're back. How is it? What did the old ancestor say to you? Did he have any instructions? Miao Jingyun asked anxiously. Before Jun Moxie could reply, he saw Miao Jingyun's face change with a schwa sound, and he disappeared in an instant. Just like Jun Dashao's sudden appearance earlier, Miao Dao and Miao Jian stared at the empty spot where Miao Jingyun had been a moment ago, and wiped away their cold sweat. These two were truly worthy of being brothers. It was as if their hearts were linked. Even the action of wiping away their sweat was in sync. After a period of time, Miao Jingyun once again appeared in front of the three of them. The expression on his face seemed like he was crying, but also like he was smiling. The way he looked at Jun Moxie had also become much more complicated. The four of them walked out silently, and no one said a single word. Miao Jingyun kept thinking back to what Miao Qingqing had told him earlier. All of the contents were related to Jun Moxie. Although Miao Qingqing did not reveal Jun Moxie's true identity or Dashao's motives, he still gave Miao Jingyun a few warnings. This little fellow, if you can avoid offending him, try not to offend him. Use the Misty Mansion to give him the greatest convenience. Also, his future accomplishments can be said to be immeasurable, and it is not something that the Misty Mansion can satisfy. So, do not think of controlling him. Instead, form good relationships with him first. As for the matters of the Misty Mansion from now on, let nature take its course. There is no need to force things. As the Manor Lord, you only need to stabilize the situation and grasp the general direction. As for the other conflicts, you can always extricate yourself from them. Everything has its own destiny. When Miao Jingyun heard this vague explanation, he could not understand it at all. Even if this Mo Junyi had the same free and natural physique as the Nine Nether First Young Master, and his future potential was limitless, he was still just a weak little brat right now. If he was really dangerous, it was fine to just kill him and destroy him. Why was it that even the old ancestor, a legendary character who had already reached the level of an immortal, valued him so highly? It was as if he had the intention of using the resources of the Misty Mansion to gain this kid's favor. It was simply too much. But even if he didn't understand, he still chose to believe Miao Qingqing's words. Besides, no matter how powerful this brat was in the future, this grandson-in-law, it was already certain that he would not be able to run away. As for the rest, he would just let it develop. The higher his accomplishments in the future, wouldn't it be more beneficial to the Miao family? On the way back, Jun Moxie did not take the initiative to speak. Da Xiao could clearly feel the changes in his body, and he was both surprised and overjoyed. His gains this time had truly reached an inconceivable level. The so-called gains were not simply the vast amount of pure energy that Miao Qingqing had given him to support his breakthrough. To Jun Moxie, although this energy was hard to come by, it was not that important, because Da Xiao had countless spirit herbs, and he even had a heaven-earth spirit vein that could be converted into unlimited energy. All he needed was some time to convert them. As long as Jun Moxie was willing, he could use those treasures to increase his strength limitlessly. Of course, it was only the accumulation of energy, and not a breakthrough in cultivation realm. In truth, it was precisely because using heavenly treasures to raise one's strength could only accomplish a quantitative change, and not a qualitative change, that Jun Moxie did not use such a method. But this time, it was unknown whether it was intentional or not, but in the process of transferring this vast amount of energy, Miao Qingqing's 10,000 years of cultivation comprehension was actually mixed in. This was something that would cause everyone's eyes to turn red with envy. Although the comprehension of Xian-Qi cultivation could not be fully applied to the art of unlocking heaven's fortune, all the arts in the world had to converge into the sea. Jun Mo Xie naturally understood the principle of reaching the same goal through different means. Chapter 10:20. With these 10,000 years of comprehension from Miao Qingqing, Jun Moxie would be able to save a lot of time and effort on his own. As long as he compared it with the art of unlocking heaven's fortune, he would be able to walk his own path. That was a cultivation technique that belonged to Jun Moxie alone. In fact, this cultivation technique might even surpass the limits of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. Of course, that would have to wait until he reached the 9th level of the art of unlocking heaven's fortune. But with this discovery, Jun Moxie could feel his little heart thumping non-stop. This was definitely a gift that was so valuable that it was immeasurable. Compared to the measly amount of energy that Jun Moxie had expended to heal his soul, it was completely incomparable. If that portion of energy from the Tree of Life was like the candlelight in a dark room, then Miao Qingcheng's feedback was like the bright moon in the 9 heavens, or the blazing sun in the sky. After such a long period of searching, he had only managed to form a small outline of the path to heaven. But this time, Miao Qingqing had laid down the most solid foundation for his path to heaven. From the start to the end, Miao Qingqing did not say why he wanted to do this. In fact, he did not even mention it, and Jun Moxie did not ask either. But Da Xiao remembered this in his heart. This favor, he really owed Miao Qingqing too much. If he had the ability in the future, he would definitely come here to help Miao Qingqing and free himself from the threat of Tian Fa. Perhaps only then would he be able to balance his heart a little. Although Miao Qingqing did not make such a request, Jun Moxie had already made such a promise in his heart. When they returned to the main hall, Miao Qingyun was the first to speak. Junyi, you see. Xiao Miao's worries are clear to you now. If you don't have any objections on your side, how about we settle the matter between the two of you first? Even if you're not in a hurry to get married, you can hold an engagement ceremony first. By right, Mo Junyi, as a junior, did not have any relatives or elders, so he could directly look for his master, Chao Guofeng, to discuss this matter. However, he vaguely heard that this Mo Junyi had a wife. If Mo Junyi had not met the great ancestor, it would not be a problem even if he had a few more wives. He could just forcefully suppress them and divorce all of them. Miao Xiao Miao could only be the legal wife, and the only wife. But now, even the ancestor has taken this kid in a new light and even warned me not to rashly offend him, so everything is different. Especially since this matter involved an affair within the boudoir, it wasn't something that could be solved just by looking for Chao Guofeng. Therefore, only Mo Junyi himself could give an answer. Jun Moxie was taken aback for a moment before he said thoughtfully, "What do you mean?" "It's not that this old man is boasting, but my family's Xiao Miao, be it in terms of talent, character, or looks, she is more than worthy of you. Do you agree on this point?" Miao Jingyun stroked his beard and smiled lightly. "That's natural. Miss Miao is intelligent and has a pure heart, like a fairy that has turned into a human. She is more than worthy of the most outstanding man in this world." Jun Moxie did not hide his admiration for Miao Xiao Miao at all. I'm very comforted that you can say that. But I wonder about that wife of yours. This old man doesn't know if the two of you are officially married. Let's just call her that for now. Miao Jingyun chuckled, but a glint flashed in his eyes. That girl, how does she compare to Xiao Miao? Jun Moxie paused for a moment, as if he was considering his words. Finally, he said decisively, Miss Miao is indeed a heavenly beauty, rare in this world. But my wife is a peerless beauty, unparalleled and unmatched. Miss Miao is indeed beautiful, but she is only a beauty of the mortal world. but my wife is unparalleled in the mortal world, an immortal descending from the heavens. Let me say something that I'm not afraid of offending you. If Miss Meow is compared to my wife, even if she does not pale in comparison, there is still a considerable gap." As June Moxie spoke, the image of Mei Shuyan seemed to appear before his eyes. He could not help but feel an inexplicable warmth in his heart. A satisfied smile also appeared on his face. Miao Jingyun's lips twitched slightly, and the muscles at the corners of his eyes twitched. In his opinion, since he'd already said that, this brat Mo Junyi should at least say a few humble words. Besides, old Miao did not believe that there was any girl in this world that could be more perfect than his Miao Xiao Miao. And such a perfect girl was coincidentally this brat's wife. As long as Mo Junyi opened his mouth to be humble, he'd prepared countless follow-up words to force him into a corner. But who would have thought that this fellow would actually open his mouth and say such a thing? Not only was he not humble, he even praised his own wife to the heavens. Just what kind of person was this? In this instant, Miao Jingyun suddenly had the urge to slap this despicable brat to death, so June Moxie said unhurriedly, "If Lord Manor Lord wishes to persuade me to stop with my wife and remarry, there's no need to speak any more. As for the engagement ceremony, I'm afraid it'll have to be postponed." After saying that, June Moxie smiled lightly and raised his head to look at Miao Jingyun. The look in his eyes clearly told him, "What you're thinking of is definitely not going to work. Everything will have to go according to this young master's will. Brat Mo, according to your words, you're planning to let this old man's granddaughter, the little princess of the Misty Mansion, become your concubine? Is that what you mean?" Miao Jingyun looked at him darkly, his eyes blazing with rage. "Manor Lord's words are too serious. I did not say that." June Moxie shrugged his shoulders and said, "For things to develop to such a state, it's truly unexpected. To be honest, I didn't expect things to develop to such a state. In truth, the reason why I rejected it in the morning was because of this matter. I didn't want to hurt Miss Meow, and I didn't want to mistreat my wife. That's why I made such a decision. But I didn't expect that Miss Meow would almost die because of this matter, so I had no choice but to change my mind. I simply couldn't bear to see such a beautiful and intelligent girl die because she liked me. Furthermore, my feelings for Miss Meow are indeed very good. It's precisely because of this that I came over in the afternoon," June Moxie said seriously. "But I didn't come for beauty, and it's not for—" He looked deeply at Miao Jingyun. "The power of the Misty Mansion. Then what do you say we should do? You should at least give us a plan, right?" Miao Jingyun was so angry that his white beard stood straight up. But there was nothing he could do. Facing this fellow who was unmoved by persuasion and had a powerful backing, especially when his granddaughter had already decided that she wouldn't marry anyone else. Just looking at his granddaughter being completely devoured by the other party, Miao Jingyun felt a sense of helplessness. "The only promise I can give is that in my family, there is no distinction between big and small." June Moxie shrugged his shoulders and said, "Whether it's the daughter of a big family or the daughter of a humble family, even if it's a prostitute, as long as I approve of her and she enters my family, everyone's status will be the same. In terms of age, we can call each other sisters, but in terms of status, there is no distinction between seniority and inferiority." Miao Jingyun's mouth opened wide in shock. After a long time, he finally said in a trembling voice, "No distinction between big and small, call each other sisters by age, and, you mean, you have more than one or two wives?" This was not shock, but pure anger. "Isn't it normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines? Senior, is there a need to make such a big fuss out of nothing?" June Moxie finally said these words that every man dreamed of saying, and he couldn't help but feel extremely satisfied in his heart. Although these words were just to pave the way for him in the future, they were not words that went against his heart. Miao Jingyun was instantly enraged. This was the truth, and it was also the dream of every man. But to say such words in front of his woman's grandfather, it's normal for a man to have 3 wives and 4 concubines. Jun Dashao was very likely the first person in history. He was simply too shameless. You brat, are simply shameless to the extreme. Old Master Miao Jingyun was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Pointing a trembling finger at Jun Mo Xie, he gritted his teeth and snarled. In your dreams. What you think is your business. Jun Moxie shook his head lightly. May I ask, Manor Lord, how many wives and concubines do you have? Miao Jingyun was completely dumbfounded and speechless. Miao Jingyun had quite a number of wives and concubines. In these 500 years, he'd been a groom for at least 70 to 80 times. But just the exchange of benefits between the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion, and the number of political marriages. So Manor Lord Miao didn't know how to reply to this question. How can you be compared to Manor Lord? Miao Dao Lengling looked at Jun Moxie and chided. Why can't we be compared? Jun Moxie asked curiously. We're all men, what words can't be said? I'm only saying this because I'm honest. Honest? But your honesty, isn't it a little too straightforward? Miao Jingyun finally managed to catch his breath. This is something that can't be helped. In the Xian continent that this junior came from, it can be said to be filled with endless wars and killings. Every year, the number of soldiers that die on the battlefield exceeds tens of millions. And the majority of these people are naturally men. In other words, every year, there will be countless orphans and widows, as well as many young girls of suitable age. As time goes by, the ratio of men to women in this world is already extremely out of balance. This is determined by the basic situation of the entire continent, and it's not something that I can change alone. Under such circumstances, as long as a man is slightly outstanding, there will be many young girls adoring him. Men with strength will always be surrounded by countless beauties. This is the trend of the world. Could it be that you're going to deny this point? Jun Moxie did not feel embarrassed at all. Could it be that you'd rather let these girls die in their chambers of old age than let them pursue their own happiness? But as the little princess of the Misty Mansion, how can Miao Miao's status be comparable to that of other girls? Miao Jingyun snorted coldly. I've already said it earlier, the authority of the Misty Mansion is completely meaningless to me. If you insist on making me make a choice, then I can only say a single word of apology. Jun Moxie refused to budge. He could already tell that it was impossible to reason with this old man, so he might as well cut the Gordian knot. Chapter 10:21. Looking at this brat's lazy appearance, Miao Jingyun was so angry that his ears were ringing. He suddenly stomped his feet and pointed at the door, roaring angrily. You brat, hurry and scram out for me. You're really angering this old man to death. Since that's the case, this junior will take his leave. Jun Moxie turned and fled. Seeing Jun Moxie's figure disappear from the door, Miao Jingyun's chest was still heaving up and down. After a long while, he suddenly roared and stomped his feet. With a loud boom, a huge hole appeared in the ground. A bottomless hole. At the side, Miao Dao and Miao Jian looked at each other and whispered to each other. That brat really left? How could it be fake? He really left just like that. Didn't you see it for yourself? He really dared to leave just like that. In the face of such repeated questions, Miao Jian tactfully chose to remain silent. The truth was already laid out in front of you, what's the point of asking? Even if you're not tired, this daddy is, that night, the upper echelons of the Miao family gathered together to discuss this matter in secret. From the looks of it, Miao Xiao Miao's father, Miao Huanyu, seemed to have said something that caused Miao Xiao Miao's father, Miao Huanyu, to flip the table and leave in a rage. Jun Moxie's journey back to his residence was exceptionally calm. Actually, if he had a choice, Da Xiao would definitely not say such things. Looking at the current situation, It was impossible for him to give up on Miao Xiao Miao. But if he were to give up on others, that was even more impossible. On this matter, it was even more serious than June Moxie's principles. There was no way he could retreat. If there's really no other way, this daddy will just put Miao Xiao Miao into the Hongjun pagoda and leave. Let's see where you can find her. That old fellow actually wants me to stop marrying and remarry? But this brother is not Chen Shimia. This kind of thinking should not even appear in his head. Early the next morning, just as the sun was rising, June Moxie was chased out of his warm bed. Today was Manor Head Miao's 500th birthday. Before the sun had even risen, the Miao family had already sent someone to invite young Master Mo to the banquet. However, the 4 people who came were sent by Miao Xiao Miao's father. Miao Huanyu was afraid that June Moxie would hold a grudge against his father because of what he had said yesterday. It seemed like he couldn't do anything about the old man, but if that brat also threw a tantrum and refused to come, then what would he do if something happened to his daughter? Fortunately, June Moxie didn't mind. It was as if yesterday's incident didn't happen at all. He simply washed up and dressed up before going to the Miao residence. As for Chao Guofeng and the others, due to their status, they had to wait until noon before going over to congratulate the Miao family and eat and drink. Even in the Misty Mansion, an expert like the Holy Emperor was still a person of great status, so he naturally had his own reservations. There was one more thing that had to be said. Yesterday's incident really made old Chao and the other brothers feel proud and elated. The encounter of great prodigy Mo and his group made old Chao and the others, who were originally on tenterhooks, feel completely relieved. Look at our disciple, even the manor head can't do anything to him. It's too embarrassing. Although it was only dawn, the Miao residence was already decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and it was extremely lively. When June Moxie arrived, he only sat in the side hall and drank tea for a while, but he already felt uncomfortable all over. This was because the house was filled with the women of the Miao family. There were hundreds of them, and it was as if they wanted to investigate 8 generations of his ancestors. Each of them asked one question or several questions, and all of them spoke at once. This evil monarch, who had always been eloquent, was completely overwhelmed in the end. He had to use his urine escape to sneak out. Only then did he realize that his clothes were all wet. Dealing with this group of women was much more tiring than fighting a big battle. When the sun was high up in the sky, the guests from all over the world finally arrived one after another. It could be said that there was an endless stream of guests. The Miao residence, which was originally quite lively, now became even more lively. At this time, Miao Xiao Miao, who was dressed up, finally appeared in front of June Moxie. When she first saw Dashao, Miao Xiao Miao's face suddenly turned red. Obviously, she thought of this enemy's frivolous behavior towards her yesterday. Miao Xiao Miao was a peerless beauty in the first place. Now that she was dressed up, she looked even more graceful and alluring. Even young Master June, who had lived through 2 lifetimes and had seen all the beauties in the world, could not help but fall into a daze. Although her face was covered by a light veil, her graceful figure was enough to enchant every man's heart and soul. June, you came early. Miao Xiao Miao came to June Moxie and asked shyly. She only said a sentence, but the blush had already reached her neck. Well, I came a little early. June Moxie touched his nose. Looking up at the sky, it was almost noon. My poor brother had been interrogated by that group of women for several hours. June, yesterday's matter, I already know about it. Miao Xiao Miao suddenly raised her head bravely and looked at June Mo Xie with her clear eyes filled with deep affection. What do you know? Is it about the healing or? I know about Grandpa's matter. Miao Xiao Miao lowered her swan-like soft neck and murmured like a mosquito, June, don't worry, I will be yours after all. Speaking till the end, it was already inaudible. If not for Dashao's profound xianqi, he might really not have heard it. However, The expression in the beautiful woman's eyes was full of determination. June Moxie sighed and said, "Don't worry." At this moment, he did not know what to say to comfort her, so he could only comfort her casually. However, Miao Xiao Miao seemed to be inspired by a great promise. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes were instantly filled with extreme joy. She tilted her head slightly and peeked at June Moxie. Her eyes were filled with shyness and happiness, but there was also a deep sense of satisfaction. That gentle affection seemed to envelop his entire body. Younger sister Xiao Miao. At this moment, a surprised voice rang out and broke the ambiguous atmosphere between the two of them. A very handsome young man in white was walking over with two attendants. His face was full of surprise. Miao Xiao Miao slightly snorted and her eyes revealed a look of displeasure. She didn't make any special movements, but she suddenly regained the noble bearing of a Tsinghua University student. It seemed that this girl would only appear to be abnormally obedient in front of June Moxie. When facing others, she was really not the slightest bit pretentious. That kind of frightening, ice-cold temperament was enough to freeze people's hearts. "Younger sister Xiao Miao, I have come late." That young man carried a kind smile and walked towards the two of them. As if he did not see June Moxie, he walked straight towards Miao Xiao Miao and said, "Today is a joyous day. As the host, younger sister Xiao Miao must be tired, right? How about, this young brother brings you out to relieve your boredom tomorrow?" Miao Xiao Miao lightly said, "Thank you, elder brother Chiu, for the trouble. Today is Xiao Miao's grandfather's 500th birthday. As the host, it is only right for me to worry about such things. As for Xiao Miao's whereabouts, I have my own plans. There is no need for elder brother Chiu to worry about it." "Younger sister Xiao Miao, you are still so reserved and polite. We have been friends for a long time, there is no need for you to treat me as an outsider. May I know who this is?" That, elder brother Chiu, seemed to not notice the coldness in Miao Xiao Miao's words. He was still full of joy and even his eyes did not change. However, he turned to look at June Moxie's face. At first glance, his eyes were quite sharp. However, when he saw June Moxie's ordinary appearance, his vigilance was greatly reduced. "This is Mo Junyi, brother Mo," Miao Xiao Miao lightly said. "I believe elder brother Chiu has already heard of him. Junyi, let me introduce you. This is the outstanding talent of the Chiu family's younger generation, Chiu Peng." When she introduced Mo Junyi to Chiu Peng, she was talking to Chiu Peng with a cold tone. However, when she introduced Chiu Peng to Mo Junyi, she was talking to June Moxie with a gentle expression and a gentle tone. In addition, the difference in the tone of the conversation was even more obvious. When she addressed Chiu Peng, it was Chiu family's outstanding talent, elder brother Chiu. Her tone was extremely cold. However, when she addressed Mo Junyi, she directly called his name Junyi. Her tone was intimate and there was even a sense of dependence. As long as one was not a fool, they would be able to hear and see the difference. What more this outstanding talent of the Chiu family? Chiu Peng stared at Miao Xiao Miao, then looked at June Moxie. His expression gradually turned ugly, but he still forced a smile and cupped his hands. "So this brother is the person with the free and natural physique, Mo Junyi, who has the free and natural physique and crippled Gu Fei Yu of the Gu family. I am Chiu Peng of the Chiu family. Nice to meet you." "Brother Chiu, nice to meet you," June Moxie replied indifferently. The more Chiu Peng thought about it, the more annoyed he felt. He only felt his anger rising. "Sister Xiao Miao, this brother has a few words to say to you in private. Is it convenient for you?" As he spoke, he looked at June Daxiao and tactfully, hurriedly left. "Didn't you hear that we have something to say in private?" Miao Xiao Miao said indifferently. "There is nothing that cannot be said to others. If elder brother Chiu has something to say, you can say it here. Junyi is not an outsider, it's not a big deal. Junyi is not an outsider." These words were like the sharpest steel needle, piercing deeply into Chiu Peng's heart. It caused his handsome face to twitch violently as if it was out of his control. Chiu Peng and Miao Xiaomiao could be considered childhood sweethearts. The two of them grew up together. Chiu Peng was slightly older than Miao Xiaomiao by 2 to 3 years and had admired Miao Xiaomiao for a long time. However, Miao Xiaomiao had always treated him coldly, but he did not mind it. He always thought that a chaste woman was afraid of a pestering man. As long as he put in some effort, Miao Xiaomiao would naturally be his woman. So he had never given up. Even if he had a strong enemy like Zhang Yushu, he had never been discouraged. Chapter 10:22. He suddenly raised his head and looked at Jun Moxie, his eyes revealing an indescribable hatred as he said in a low voice, "Mo Jun Yi. What a free and natural physique. If you want to do evil in the Misty Mansion, this young master will not tolerate it." Jun Moxie furrowed his brows. What's wrong with this person, to actually speak so incoherently? It's obviously you who are jealous. When did this daddy do evil? Besides, if I really do evil with your level, do you think you're qualified to know? Someone like you actually has the face to fight with this daddy for a woman? Go back and cultivate for another 3 to 5,000 years. With regards to this kind of unreasonable jealousy, Jun Moxie had always felt that it was very boring. He was together with Guan Qinghan and Dugu Xiaoi. There was also Mei Shiyan and the others, all of whom were peerless beauties, but this kind of jealousy was something that he had never encountered before in his eyes. This kind of behavior was simply the behavior of a child. Extremely boring. So this time, he didn't intend to pay attention to it. Chiu Peng, what do you mean by that? Could it be that you want to display your Chiu family's master, Da Xiao's might in my Miao mansion? Before Jun Moxie could speak, Miao Xiaomiao had already become enraged. Little sister Xiaomiao, you're inexperienced and don't know the dangers of the world, the sinister nature of the human heart. This brother Mo has just arrived at the Misty Mansion not long ago. Who knows what kind of person he is, and what motives he has for sneaking into the Misty Mansion. You must not be deceived by him. Chiu Peng's handsome face had a hint of malice as he said, "Little sister Xiaomiao, you must be careful. What does it have to do with you whether I'm experienced or not? Also, brother Chiu, please don't keep saying the words little sister Xiaomiao. Although we're family friends, brother Chiu can just call me little sister." Miao Xiaomiao was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She almost cursed out loud. How could she say anything nice to Chiu Peng? This despicable fellow actually dares to slander my Jun Yi so brazenly. I don't even know how much I want him to lie to me. Unfortunately, he's not even willing to lie to me. If today wasn't her grandfather's birthday, Miao Xiaomiao might not have been able to hold back and beat him up. How infuriating! Jun Moxie chuckled. He tilted his head and looked at Chiu Peng with interest. Young Master Chiu, are you implying that the Chiu family is investigating me? Chiu Peng froze when he heard that, then he forced a cold smile and said, "As the saying goes, true gold fears no fire. If you didn't do anything wrong, why would you be afraid of an investigation?" He had never imagined that this person's intelligence would be so high. With just a sentence from him, he was able to deduce that his family was investigating him. But now that things had come to this, he could no longer avoid it. Little sister Xiaomiao, even if you have to go over during this period of time, it won't be too late to talk about it after the investigation is done. Get lost right now. I don't want to see you again. I don't want to hear you speak. I don't want to see the results of your Chiu family's investigation either. Also, are you deaf? You're not allowed to call me little sister Xiaomiao. Miao Xiaomiao was obviously furious as she stomped her feet and shouted, "Mo Junyi, if you dare to do anything dirty to my little sister Xiaomiao, be careful of your life." Hearing Miao Xiaomiao's order to chase him away, Chiu Peng's expression changed again. He vented his anger on this free and natural physique person even more fiercely. Glaring at June Moxie, he spat out each word clearly. After he finished speaking, he turned around to leave. My life? June Moxie muttered softly, a murderous glint flashing past his eyes. June Moxie had never been jealous, but he had one good point. He knew how to kill. This kid's threat caused June Dashao's heart to boil with killing intent. At this moment, another 4 to 5 youths walked over, chatting and laughing. One of them said, "Ah, so little sister Xiao Miao and brother Chiu are here as expected. Looks like we didn't find the wrong place." Chiu Peng Lengling watched them walk past. Suddenly, he rolled his eyes and laughed bitterly. "What are the few of you still doing here? Little sister Xiao Miao's heart already belongs to someone else. Even if you guys came here, it's all in vain." Taking another 10,000 steps back, "Even if we let you guys compete fairly, do you think you guys can win against the free and natural physique young Master Mo Junyi of the Misty Mansion?" When these former love rivals gathered together, they had always been fighting openly and covertly, not giving way to each other. In the past, whenever Chiu Peng saw them, he would always have a battle of words. But today the situation was very different. There was no other reason. They already had a common enemy, an extremely powerful opponent. Mo Junyi, the legendary free and natural physique possessor, the promising young talent of the Misty Mansion. The 4 to 5 youths were stunned when they heard that. Their eyes were as cold as lightning as they looked at June Moxie, who was standing beside Miao Xiao Miao. One of them opened his mouth slowly and asked, "Little sister Xiao Miao, this is..." Miao Xiao Miao was furious in her heart. But since the situation was so formal, she had no choice but to introduce herself again. When she heard Chiu Peng's malicious provocation, Miao Xiao Miao was already bursting with anger. Was I really so naive in the past? I didn't realize that this brother Chiu was actually so repulsive. Zhan Qingfeng was the same, and so was Chiu Peng. June Moxie looked at Chiu Peng. He had already completely eliminated this person from the list of enemies. Such a breadth of mind. He didn't even have the intention to play around with him. He was really too low level. He was not worth a fight. At most, he would just kill him and be done with it. "So you are the free and natural physique possessor, whose name shook the Misty Mansion previously, brother Mo Junyi?" That youth smiled. "I am Li Xingyu from the Li family. I am Meng Xianru from the Meng family. I am Zhang Qishu from the Zhang family. I am Yun Xiao from the Yun family." The 4 of them introduced themselves and bowed at the same time. At the same time, Li Xingyu laughed and said, "Looks like we have another strong opponent. Ah, brother Mo, you've really caused trouble for us brothers this time." June Moxie's eyes flashed. He smiled and said, "How can that be? Brother Li's words are wrong. I am not your opponent. Your opponent has always been Miss Miao alone. All the choices are in her hands. This matter doesn't seem to have anything to do with me." Haha. Brother Mo's words make a lot of sense. You are right. Li Xingyu clapped his hands and laughed. Although Brother Mo's words have the intention of clearing himself of suspicion, it is still the truth. We have become a joke to Miss Miao by arguing for nothing. Brother Mo's words have enlightened us, the clowns in the game. The others laughed as well. June Moxie was secretly amazed. These people looked like they were quite broad-minded. At least they were shrewd. They were not the kind of trash that only knew how to fight for a woman's favor. All of you can just appreciate each other. When little sister Xiao Miao has someone to rely on, all of you won't be able to cry even if you want to. Chiu Peng laughed coldly. He had always been proud of his good looks and good looks. He was much better than the others, and the more he thought of himself as a cut above them, the more he disliked the others. At this moment, seeing that nothing was going according to his plan, he couldn't help but add another sentence. "Chiu Peng, whoever little sister Xiao Miao likes, that's her own business. We have no right to interfere. We have no right to interfere." Meng Xianru furrowed his brows and said, even if she doesn't choose one of us, as long as little sister Xiao Miao really likes him, this Meng can only wish them a happy ending. What's the point of such a petty person like you provoking us again and again? Do you want us to fight to the death with each other? To let little sister Xiao Miao suffer and be heartbroken? Is that what you want? You've tried to sow discord between us and brother Mo time and time again. What are your intentions? These people were all people who had ambitions towards Miao Xiao Miao. But they had all been warned by their clans not to provoke that free and natural physique person. Thus, they didn't dare to be impudent and even tried to befriend him. But they didn't have the slightest bit of courtesy towards Chiu Peng. Instead, they shifted all their anger and indignation onto Chiu Peng. Actually, before Chiu Peng came, the elders of the clan had also warned him. But when he saw how close Miao Xiao Miao and Jun Moxie were, he was so envious that he lost his mind and disregarded everything to come out and mess things up. If we don't get along, even half a sentence is too much. This young master doesn't want to argue with you. Today is Manor Lord Miao's 500th birthday. May I ask young Master Mo, what kind of precious gift have you brought for this birthday celebration? Chiu Peng sneered coldly. According to their investigations, Mo Jun Yi was just a brat before he came to the Misty Mansion. He didn't have any family background at all. What kind of decent gift could he bring out? The others all cursed Chiu Peng for being shameless in their hearts. If he was just relying on himself, could he bring out a decent gift? Why, could it be that young Master Chiu is going to bring out a gift on my behalf? Jun Moxie didn't even lift his eyelids as he spoke calmly. Haha, this young master has always been a thrifty person. Where would I find so much money to bring out a gift for someone unrelated to me? Chiu Peng laughed loudly and said, we'll meet again at the banquet later. At that time, in front of all the elders, this young master would like to see what kind of precious gift the legendary free and natural physique owner of the Misty Mansion can bring out. Saying that, Chiu Peng left while laughing maniacally. It's really disgusting. Yun Xiao spat out a mouthful of saliva and said with disgust, the Chiu family has always been strict. How could they have produced such a person? How disgusting! Li Xingyu cautiously said, everyone, please don't be careless. I heard that today is not only Manor Head Miao's birthday, but Manor Head is also going to choose an ideal husband for Miss Xiao Miao from the younger generation of the Misty Mansion. I'm afraid there's a reason why Chiu Peng lost his composure today. But if we're going to compete in gifts, it's too childish and childish. Everyone present knew about this matter, and Li Xingyu's words were obviously a reminder to Jun Moxie. This matter had already been spread since last year. That was why there were so many people from the younger generation present today. They were all looking forward to ascending to the heavens in a single step. If they could become Miao Xiao Miao's husband, then they would truly be able to obtain both wealth and power. But when Li Xingyu and the rest saw how intimate Jun Moxie and Miao Xiao Miao were today, they were obviously prepared to give up. This sentence was just a simple reminder, and it was also a deliberate attempt to curry favor. Miao Xiao Miao smiled faintly and looked at Jun Moxie with boundless tenderness. She said lightly, Xiao Miao thanks brotherly for your reminder on behalf of Jun Yi. The meaning behind this sentence was that she had already placed herself in the position of Mo Jun Ye's wife. It was as if she was a gentle and considerate wife who was currently thanking a friend for his help on behalf of her husband. Chapter 10:23. The four of them sighed at the same time, feeling a wave of sadness. Miao Xiao Miao's current attitude had already made them feel it clearly. This birthday banquet might not only be a birthday banquet, but also a son-in-law selection banquet. Most likely, it would also be an engagement banquet? Because Miao Xiao Miao and this Mo Jun Ye's expressions did not show the slightest bit of nervousness, as if they did not take this matter to heart at all. This could only mean one thing. The matter between these two people had already obtained the approval of the Miao family's higher-ups. Li Xingyu had said these words, firstly to remind them, secondly to curry favor with them, and lastly to probe them. But now, the four of them could be considered to have truly given up. Good lad. You're really something. Li Xingyu smiled, and actually punched Jun Moxie's shoulder fiercely, laughing. You're really. You motherf asterisk cur. Our Misty Mansion's #1 flower has actually been plucked by an outsider like you. Today, I'm going to drink you under the table, you brat. Otherwise, how can we vent our anger? Meng Xianru and the rest cheered loudly. Since they could not defeat him in the field of love, and the chances of defeating him in the field of Xian cultivation were also very slim, then they could only kill him in the field of wine. This could also be considered as finding a balance. I'm happy to accompany you. Jun Moxie smiled. However, if you brothers crawl under the table first, then don't blame me for not being righteous. If I show mercy, then I'll be the one to suffer. With just you? The few youths laughed together, but their expressions were filled with complacency and self-confidence. They were people who had experienced the test of alcohol, and all of them possessed extraordinary cultivation. They were confident in their ability to drink. This newcomer, who was only at the Golden Xian realm, really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He actually had the delusion that he could get all of them drunk by himself? This was simply a lunatic's ravings. Before we drink, we must first seal our Xian Qi. Zhang Qiyun kindly reminded them, and instantly, the other three rolled their eyes in unison. Putting aside the fact that our Xian Qi is superior, even if we don't use our Xian Qi, with our alcohol tolerance, and the fact that it's 4 against 1, it's impossible for us to lose. So what if the other party has the legendary free and natural physique? I've never heard that the free and natural physique is immune to alcohol. Just then, happy birthday, I invite all the guests to come to Fu Shou Hall to offer their blessings and gifts, a loud voice called out. Jun Moxie almost laughed out loud. This manor head Miao is really different from the rest. To think that they would openly ask for a birthday gift now. This was too much. Apart from the Miao clan, the other 7 clans, as well as those clans and forces with relatively high status, would probably lose a great deal of money today. At this moment, Fortune Longevity Hall was in an uproar. It could be said that all the higher-ups of the Misty Mansion were present at the mansion head's birthday banquet. With just a glance, Jun Dashao was already speechless. Among them, there were at least 40 to 50 experts who were above the holy venerable level. Many hidden experts were also present in the hall. As for experts above the holy emperor level, there were also over 100 of them. Even those at the level of Chao Guofeng and Bai Qi Feng would not be able to stand out in a situation like this. Such a lineup could be said to be huge. Everyone was beaming with joy, their faces beaming with happiness. The Zhan clan's patriarch, Zhan Wuyun, was also present. The smile on his face was even more natural and amiable. From the looks of it, he seemed even happier than if it was his own birthday. Miao Jingyun sat high up in the main seat, dressed in a bright red robe. There was a large shou character embroidered on his chest, as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that he was the 500-year-old longevity god. Actually, even without the shou character, he was the only one in the entire hall dressed in red, as if he was a certain bag. Although this kind of atmosphere was a little vulgar, it made it even more lively. It also made Jun Moxie feel the strong familial love contained within. The unity of the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion was indeed something that others envied. In the Xian continent, this was an extremely rare thing. As the MC spoke in a loud voice, everyone stepped forward in succession to offer their well-prepared birthday gifts. The atmosphere became even more joyous. As the birthday gifts were unveiled one after another, the cheers from the crowd grew louder and louder. It was as if this birthday banquet was a day of competition. Miao Jingyun sat in the middle seat, laughing heartily as he spoke softly with a few of his old brothers, as if they were discussing something. Chiu Qing-yun of the Chiu clan has come to congratulate Lord Manor Lord on his birthday, and to present his birthday gift. 1,000-year longevity pine. May boss live a long life like a pine tree, evergreen for all eternity. Following a loud congratulatory voice, an old man with a thin face walked up. Behind him was Chiu Peng, who was respectfully holding a miniature pine tree that was no more than a foot tall and as thick as a teacup. It could even be said to be oddly shaped. The body of that miniature pine tree was an extremely exquisite white jade flower pot. Although the pine tree was small, it was luxuriant and full of leaves, looking like a thriving flower pot. The crown of the tree was pink and green, and all the pine needles were pointing outwards, not a single one pointing upwards. Furthermore, the branches on the tree were tall and straight, mottled and mottled. Layers of cracked bark stuck firmly to the tree trunk. With a single look, one could tell that although this pine tree was small, its age was definitely not short 1,000-year longevity pine. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard these words and looked carefully at the small pine tree. Everyone had seen longevity pine trees many times, and there was nothing special about them. Not to mention a 1,000-year longevity pine, even a 10,000-year longevity pine was not uncommon. But this was the first time they had seen a longevity pine tree that had grown for 1,000 years without being cut down or pruned. It was truly strange. The growth of a tree, whether it was thick or tall, had its own laws. If a pine tree had truly grown for 1,000 years, it would be impossible for it to have such a shape. There must be a reason that no one knew about. But no matter what, this longevity pine tree had indeed stolen the limelight of all the birthday gifts today. For a moment, everyone was gathered around this longevity pine tree, clicking their tongues in wonder. Everyone present was a master of the present age, and with a casual sweep of their divine sense, they were able to see through the essence of this pine tree. It was undoubtedly a longevity pine tree that had experienced the baptism of 1,000 years. Someone laughed. "Old Chiu, you stinky loach, where did you get such a good thing from? Today's limelight has been stolen by you old brat." Chiu Qing-yun said proudly, "This is fate. Come to think of it, this old man still doesn't understand what's going on with this tree. This spring, this old man was in high spirits and went out to play. Suddenly, there was a heavy rain and I found a cave to shelter from the rain. Then, I felt a 10,000 gene stone under my feet move on its own. In a moment of curiosity, I opened it to take a look. Who would have thought that there were 2 stone slabs sandwiched between them, and in the middle of the 2 slabs was a small round hole with this pine tree growing in the middle. This old man dug it out and planted it in a flower pot. I didn't think it would come in handy today." He smiled proudly and twirled his beard. Although this item isn't anything valuable, it can still be considered a rare item. Thus, this old man brought it here as a birthday gift for the manor lord, hoping for a good omen. Everyone surrounded Chiu Qing-yun and looked at the pine tree, as though it was a rare item worth hoarding. Just as Chiu Qing-yun was about to leave after enjoying the limelight, he heard his grandson Chiu Peng suddenly say loudly, "Today, the younger generation of the Misty Mansion can be said to have gathered here to offer our blessings to the manor lord. This little one has heard that the legendary free and natural physique Mo Junyi is also here, but I wonder what kind of precious gift Brother Mo has prepared for the manor lord this time? This junior would like to broaden his horizons." As these words were said, not only was everyone in the hall shocked, Chao Guofeng and the rest had ashen expressions on their faces. Even Chiu Peng's grandfather, Chiu Qing-yun, had a look of shock on his face. No matter what, he would never have thought that his grandson would actually shout out in such a manner in such an occasion. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that this was obviously directed at the great prodigy Mo Junyi. But how had Mo Junyi offended his grandson? But no matter what, they couldn't go against him now, right? Especially in an occasion like this, where all the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion were present. No matter what, their Chiu family was in the wrong today. Besides, that free and natural physique, was it easy to provoke? Even if they could suppress him today, what about in the future? In the future, this kid would definitely be an influential figure in the Misty Mansion. Offending him today would definitely create a huge enmity for the Chiu family. In that instant, Chiu Qing-yun's anger rose in his heart, and he opened his palm, wanting to give this little brat a tight slap. But unexpectedly, as soon as Chiu Peng finished his sentence, the Misty Mansion Manor Lord Miao Jing-yun laughed loudly. Not bad, not bad. This old man also wants to see what kind of surprise this unparalleled free and natural physique prodigy has prepared for this old man. The moment these words came out, everyone couldn't help but rub their eyes and ears. Was this really what the manor lord would say? Chiu Peng, on the other hand, was overjoyed in his heart. He wasn't a good-for-nothing person, and he was quite calculative. Just now, he was just burning with jealousy and couldn't control himself, which was why he blurted out those words. It wasn't that he didn't regret it in his heart. But now that the birthday boy old Master Miao had said such a sentence, his words just now had become good words to deal with this old man's intentions. He couldn't help but feel extremely pleased with himself. As he said that, Miao Jing-yun's eyes narrowed slightly as he thought to himself, "Brat, I'll let you be stubborn. I'll let you be arrogant. Today, this old man will definitely embarrass you. Let's see how you're going to get off this stage. If I don't teach you a lesson, how can the anger in my heart be appeased? Today, I'll let you know that I have 3 eyes, grandfather. How could you do this?" Miao shouted angrily. "You clearly know." Just as she said this, she was interrupted by June Moxie. Originally, June Moxie had wanted to make use of today's birthday celebration to give Miao Jing-yun a surprise. It could also be considered as a favor to Miao Qing-qing, and a gift to the Misty Mansion. Within his Hongjun pagoda, there were countless rare and precious treasures. Anything he took out was enough to cause everyone present to be dumbfounded. As for the birthday gift, it was naturally not a problem. Chapter 10:24. Not looking at the monk's face, but looking at the Buddha's face, he had already swindled the other party's granddaughter into his hands. What birthday gift was there to be concerned about? Sending a gift was to return a favor to Miao Qing-qing, as well as to give face to his woman. He would not bother with this shameless old man in front of him. June Moxie made up his mind and did not hesitate at all. Taking a step forward, he was about to speak when an old man by the side suddenly stepped forward. Unexpectedly, an old man at the side stepped out first. It was the Gu family's patriarch, Gu Yunyang. This old man smiled and said, "Manor Lord's birthday is truly worthy of celebration. But this little brother has another joyous matter that I wish to inquire about. Last year, I heard Manor Lord mention that this year's birthday, there will be a double joyous event. Today, from the young generation of the Misty Illusory Manor, we will be choosing a suitable husband for Xiao Miao. I wonder how Manor Lord intends to choose?" As he said that, Gu Yunyang's old face twitched, and an extremely strange smile appeared on his face. At the same time, the expressions on the faces of those old fellows who had come earlier also turned strange. These old fellows were all experienced and crafty. How could they not see the situation before them clearly? Just now, Miao Miao's intentional protection of the Misty Mansion had already shown many problems. Although being able to form a marriage alliance with the Miao family would be of great help to their family's foundations, it might not be worth it if they ended up offending the young talents of the Misty Mansion. Furthermore, they might not even be able to form a marriage alliance with the Miao family. If they spoke rashly, they might end up in a disadvantageous position. Miao Jing-yun squinted his eyes and laughed uproariously. Fellow Nian brothers and juniors, as everyone knows, this old man had indeed said those words last year. A man's words must be kept. If a man does not keep his words, how can he stand tall in this world? This old man will naturally not go back on his words. And then let's do it like this. Today, of the 8 great families, other than the main Meow family, 7 of them have all arrived. There are also some other young talents of the Misty Mansion. The only pity is that the one from the Zhan family did not come. Zhan Wuyun's face twitched. The 2 most promising juniors of the Zhan family had already turned into 2 corpses. As for the others, they were all good-for-nothings. If he came, he would only be adding to the joke. What was the point of coming? Miao Jing-yun continued. So, from these people, I'll choose an ideal husband for my precious granddaughter. At this point, there was a commotion in the hall. Many young prodigies' eyes lit up, and their eagerness was evident on their faces. Only Meng Xianru, Li Xingyue, and the others smiled bitterly at each other. Old master, go ahead and do whatever you want. Your granddaughter has already been chosen a long time ago. Today is just a formality at best to fulfill what you said that day, and that's it. It seems that we are destined to accompany the Crown Prince in his studies. Everyone has already presented their gifts. Now, these gifts have all been gathered and placed together. After this young Master Mo presents his gift, this old man and Xiao Miao will personally choose. Whoever's gift satisfies us will be our Miao family's son-in-law. Miao Jing-yun smiled faintly and pointed to a large table at the side. Indeed, it was filled with gifts, and there were at least a few hundred of them. The moment these words came out, the entire hall burst into an uproar. Because there were simply too many old fellows in the Misty Illusory Manor, and they all lived too long, they basically had to hold a birthday celebration every year. The various families only cared about their reputation, and most of them just wanted to use this opportunity to gather and eat. How many of them would really spend their hard-earned capital to send some precious birthday gifts, because this was already an unwritten convention. Although Miao Jing-yun was the manor lord, and it was his 500th birthday this year, so he should be treated with more importance. But compared to the birthday banquets of some high-ranking officials and nobles in the mortal world, even though the people attending were of a much higher level, the value of the gifts were also far inferior. Which of these old fellows didn't have over 1,000 birthdays in their lifetime? A mere 500th birthday, even if it was a birthday celebration, what did it count for? If not for the fact that the host of today's birthday was Miao Jing-yun, the manor lord of the Misty Mansion, how could there be such a grand celebration? Many youngsters stared fixedly at the gifts that their families had sent out, and they even had thoughts of rebelling. My dear ancestors, the gifts that our families have sent out are a little too meager. No, it's simply too shabby. Just this little bit of trash. How can it allow me to win the heart of a beauty? As the saying goes, the best steel should be used on the blade's edge. Why didn't I spend more this time? Such a great opportunity has been wasted. It was even to the extent that many of them stomped their feet and pounded their chests with extreme regret. Li Xingyu looked at Jun Moxie, who was standing together with Miao Xiaomiao. Seeing that the 2 of them had a calm expression on their faces, as if they were not affected at all, she could only laugh bitterly in her heart. Zhang Qiyun, Meng Xianru, and the others exchanged a look, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. This move of this manor lord was truly too good. But it was a little too despicable, right? Your birthday gift is actually for you and your granddaughter to choose together, and choose the one that you like the most? Is there even a need to say the result? I believe that no matter what this great prodigy Mo Jun Yi gives out, even if it's a pile of shit, your granddaughter will definitely cheer loudly. What's the point of comparing? What do you like? Jun Moxie rubbed his nose helplessly. Looks like this old fellow is determined to force this young master into a corner today. Even if that last Xiao Miao is willing to speak up for me, this old fellow will not let me off so easily. This F***king thing is clearly a collusion between those old fogies. And it's something that they've just colluded with. Seeing Gu Yunyang and the other patriarchs exchanging glances with Miao Jingyun, as well as the looks of delight on those old fogies' faces, Jun Moxie could tell with a single look. This was clearly a deliberate arrangement, and it was orchestrated by Miao Jingyun. Jun Dashao, I also want to see the gift you're giving grandfather. Actually, I don't need to see it to know that it's definitely the best, and I'll definitely like it. Miao Xiao Miao looked at Jun Dashao lovingly and said in a gentle voice. Young Miss Miao did not lower her voice when she said those words, and the two of them were standing right beside Li Xingyu and the rest. Naturally, those words were heard clearly by the group of youths. Li Xingyu and the rest could only sigh silently in their hearts. Was this still that cold and frosty Miao Xiao Miao young Miss Miao of the past? Those words were a little too blatant and a little too mushy. This grandfather-granddaughter pair, aren't they king toying with people? Young Miss Miao naturally has her own plans. Grandfather, didn't you want to play some tricks? It's not like I don't know how to do it. As long as I approve of Junye's gift, even if you say someone else's gift is better, it'll at most be a draw. In any case, Junye will definitely not lose. Young Master Mo, it's your turn. Take out your gift and let everyone have a look. Qiupeng looked at Jun Moxie gleefully. This brat was blinded by greed and lust, and did not notice the subtle changes that had occurred just now. In his mind, when old Master Gu mentioned the matter of choosing a son-in-law, and old Master Miao did not deny it and even took the initiative to make things difficult for great prodigy Mo, it was useless even if Miao Xiao Miao helped him. At the end of the day, this matter still depended on the wishes of the Miao family's elders. Based on the current situation, although the gifts on the table were all expensive items, his family's longevity pine was the most unique and the most thoughtful. From the looks of it, he had already firmly taken the lead today, and the beauty would not be able to escape his grasp. Speaking of gift, I really didn't prepare anything in advance. Jun Mo Xie took a step forward, not even looking at Qiupeng's expression. He didn't even bother with him, treating him as if he was heir. Smiling lightly, he said, "This junior's family is poor, and I don't have anything valuable on me. I really can't take out any decent gift. How about this? When I was outside, I picked up 2 stones. They can barely be considered as rare items, so I've been carrying them with me all these years. Since today is Manor Lord's birthday celebration, then this junior shall gift these stones to Manor Lord as a birthday gift." What? Stones? Using stones as a congratulatory gift? Everyone didn't know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of rare thing was a stone? The entire mainland was filled with stones, and you randomly picked up a broken stone and used it as a birthday gift? That was way out of line. Even if Miao Xiao Miao wanted to be biased, he couldn't possibly lie through his teeth, right? Even if he lied through his teeth, he couldn't possibly turn a stone into gold, right? Miao Jingyun's face froze for an instant. This old man's plan was quite good. As long as this brat casually took out something, then he and his granddaughter would insist that it was something that this old man liked. Naturally, it would be the best gift, and they would be able to settle this matter, but to think that this brat actually said that he wanted to take out a stone as a congratulatory gift. What was this? Could it be that this brat wanted to go back on his words, purposely using such a method to evade? From the looks of it, things had really gotten out of hand. Playing with fire. At the side, Chao Guofeng and the rest were also extremely anxious. When they heard that old Miao seemed to be making things difficult for Dashao and asking for a gift, they immediately went to make preparations. Bai Qifeng even directly plucked out a large gem from his sword, preparing to secretly give it to Dashao as a birthday gift. Although it might not be the best, it would at least be more pleasing to the eye. With young Miss Miao's help, getting past this hurdle should not be a big problem. But who would have thought that before anyone could make a move, this brat would actually openly say that he wanted to give a stone as a congratulatory gift. In that instant, Bai Chi Feng, who had just plucked out the gem from his sword, was so angry that his nose almost went crooked. Only Miao Xiao Miao by the side still had a calm expression on her face. Her eyes were filled with a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. She had already decided that even if Mo Junyi really took out a small stone that he had picked up from the roadside, she would hug it in her arms and insist that it was the best. Anything that satisfied her was naturally the best. It was easy to obtain a priceless treasure, but it was rare to obtain a gift from a lover. Even if it was just a strand of air, as long as he said that it was a gift from him, it would be the most precious. With Miao Xiao Miao's current status, would she still care about some rare treasures? Although a gem was precious, wasn't it still a stone in the end? Chapter 10:25. Apart from being taken aback, everyone was even more bewildered. It was really just an ordinary stone? Originally, when they heard him say that the stone could barely be considered a rare item, everyone had thought that it would be a naturally formed stone. Although that would be a little too shabby, it was still an item, and could be considered a gift. But no one had expected that this brat would actually take out a stone that no one would even notice if it was thrown on the side of the road. And it was so small, what could it be used for? Tui, it would take up more space if it was bigger, and it would be even more useless. Could it be that this brat was purposely causing trouble? Some people thought gloatingly in their hearts. It's actually really a stone. Ha 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 ha. Chiu Peng was also stunned for a moment, then he suddenly burst into laughter, bending over with tears and snot flowing down his face. Mo Junyi. Ha ha ha, you country bumpkin, you've really gone crazy from poverty. To actually take out such a stone at the Manor Lord's birthday banquet, you're really too shameless. I really admire your courage. What kind of gift is this? Do you think we're all blind? I don't know if you're blind or not, but I really like this stone. It's really such a beautiful stone. Miao Xiao Miao strolled out, her eyes unblinking as she stared at June Moxie's palm, her eyes filled with sincere love and satisfaction. It's too beautiful, Junyi, can I touch it? Miao Xiao Miao had already made up her mind. As long as Mo Junyi handed it to her, once she received it, she would immediately put it into her bosom, then announce that this stone was the gift that she liked the most anyway. No one would be able to take this stone out from her bosom. Moreover, when had she ever lied? The gift given by Mo Junyi was naturally the best. Miss Miao. Little sister Xiao Miao. How can you distort the truth? Chiu Peng shouted in exasperation. They did not notice that the moment Mo Junyi took out the stone, all the experts above the Holy Emperor, including the high-level Saint Venerables, did not question or sneer like the others. Instead, they all stood up with a wolf-like green light in their eyes. All the peak experts present stared at the stone without blinking. This greedy gaze was filled with possessiveness. It was as if he wanted to swallow the stone in one gulp. That's right, everyone present had the same thought. Swallow this stone in one gulp. Even Miao Jingyun seemed to have forgotten to speak. His mouth was slightly agape as he stared unblinkingly at the stone. After a long time, he slowly raised his head and looked at June Moxie. Sir Miao, I wonder if you like this stone as a birthday gift? June Moxie smiled faintly before casually tossing the stone over. He threw it towards the table in the middle of the hall, the table that was filled with gifts. Don't throw it. Be careful. F***ck. Be careful. In an instant, more than 100 people cried out in alarm. The faces of all the experts present, including the Saint Venerables, turned deathly white. In an instant, the wind howled in the hall, and white shadows flew everywhere. In the middle, there was an eye-catching red shadow. That was the birthday star, Miao Jingyun, Old Master Miao. The peak experts present all launched their fastest movement techniques at the same time, pouncing in the direction of the falling stone. One of the Saint Venerables felt that Chiu Peng, who was standing near the table, was a hindrance and directly kicked him away. the other Saint Venerable standing at the back of the table directly stretched out his hand. With a crash, all the gifts on the table were swept to the ground. Many of them were smashed to pieces. That 1,000-year-old longevity pine was also broken into many pieces. Pine needles flew everywhere, but that Saint Venerable did not seem to care at all. With a schwa sound, he flew out and only opened his palm to receive that small stone. In this instant, all the peak experts present only had that small stone in their eyes. There was nothing else. The figures flew about chaotically for a while before finally landing. A fourth-level Saint Venerable stood in the middle, holding that small stone as if it was a priceless treasure. All around him were Saint Venerable experts from the Holy Emperor. All of them stared at the stone in that fourth-level Saint Venerable's hand. They were most likely wary of this old man's strength, and afraid that they would accidentally destroy the stone. Otherwise, they would have long since snatched it away. The fourth-level Saint Venerable who snatched the stone stared at his palm and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. As he swallowed, a gulp sound rang out in the surroundings. All the peak experts had swallowed their saliva at the same time. After a long, long time, this fourth-level Saint Venerable finally raised his head shakily. Then, he lowered his head again and stared at the stone in his palm with great reluctance. With a hoarse voice that sounded as if his heart was dripping blood, he said in a sorrowful voice, Since this is, that sent over as a birthday gift then. Manor Lord, please accept it. As he spoke, his lips trembled, and his body trembled. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he was filled with grief and reluctance. As if he was about to burst into tears at any moment. This kind of rare treasure, no. This was a heavenly treasure that was hard to come by even in 1,000,000,000,000 years. To be given away just like that. The grief in this Saint Venerable's heart was like a tsunami. Miao Jing-yun heaved a sigh of relief and laughed heartily as he received the stone. That makes sense. This is the birthday gift that Mo Brat gave to this old man. This old man, he shall shamelessly accept it, As he spoke, he quickly stuffed the stone into his bosom, as if he was afraid that someone would snatch it away from him. At the same time, a flush of excitement appeared on this old man's face. Lord Manor Lord, that. The fourth-grade Heavenly Venerable, who had just handed over the stone, did something that all the youngsters despised, but all the experts were envious of. Then, he stammered. Manor Lord, cough. This old man has already been stuck at a bottleneck for 400 years. I wonder, cough, if you can, bestow a little powder, cough. The moment he said this, all the Saint Venerables immediately glared at him. Too shameless. You've only been stuck at 400 years. Which one of you here hasn't been stuck at a bottleneck for hundreds of years? There are even those who have been stuck at a bottleneck for over 1,000 years. What kind of situation are you in these 400 years? A little powder. You make it sound so King easy. Such a small stone, how much powder can there be? Why don't you go and rob someone? And, although this item is a gift that Mo Brat gave to this old man, since it has appeared in the Misty Mansion, it naturally has to be dealt with fairly, cough. After today, we'll immediately call for a meeting of the elders to discuss how to deal with it. Miao Jing-yun's face twitched as he spoke, a pained expression on his face. Looking at all the expectant gazes, Miao Jing-yun felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. *CK. What kind of people are these? This was clearly a birthday gift that someone had given to this old man. It belongs to me alone, but now it's actually turned into a public item? That Mo Brat is also too much. How could he take out such a good thing in front of everyone? If he had given it to this old man in private, how much trouble would that have saved? This scene caused those in the hall who weren't of a high enough level to look at each other in dismay. Just what kind of situation was this? What was going on? Could it be that the upper echelons of the Misty Mansion had all gone mad? In particular, young Master Chiopeng, who was inexplicably kicked out and was limping back, was even more dumbfounded. What was going on? Li Xingyu and the rest also had looks of incredulity on their faces. This was too ridiculous, right? Was there a need to do this? Wasn't it just to matchmake little sister Xiao Miao and Mo Junye's marriage? To actually make so many elders put on a show together? Snatch that inconspicuous stone? This was too much, right? Lord Manor Lord, this stone is nothing more than a very ordinary stone. It's one thing for little sister Xiao Miao to distort the truth. She must have been hoodwinked by someone. But all of you are at the peak of this world, how can you speak such blatant lies? This junior is not convinced. Chiopeng cried out in a wronged manner. Chiopeng's mind was a little muddled when he saw that he was about to marry the beauty, but he did not expect such a thing to happen. Shut up! Over 100 people roared in unison. The surging anger that had gathered in an instant was like a flash flood as they charged towards young Master Chiopeng with a clear target. A total of more than 100 Holy Emperor and the Lord shouted angrily at the same time. This huge force gathered together, and with a loud bang, Chiopeng was sent flying away like he was riding on a cloud. After a long time, a soft thud could be heard as he landed on the ground. The head of the Chiu family, Chiu Qingyun, did not argue for his grandson. Instead, his face was filled with anger. The person who shouted the loudest, "Shut up," earlier was none other than the head of the Chiu family. At the same time, countless disdainful and mocking gazes came from all directions, focusing on Chiu Qingyun's body. Old man Chiu's face was full of shame, and he deeply lowered his head. This was truly shameful. Even if you don't have knowledge, you should still have common sense. Even if you don't have common sense, you should still have knowledge. Even if you don't have anything, can't you just shut up like everyone else? Why did you have to come out and shout like that? But now, the Chiu family's reputation has been completely destroyed by your shout. Not even a little bit is left. Miao Xiao Miao was also shocked by the sudden scene in front of her. Her mouth was wide open, and she was speechless for a long time. After a long time, her eyes that were filled with shock finally turned around and stared at Jun Moxie's face with a strong sense of doubt. Recommending a new book. The new book by Qidian's great god Guyu Ju, The Prosperous Officials and Merchants. Book number 1690864. It tells the story of the rebirth of a heaven's favorite son of heaven who opened up the path of the prosperous officials and merchants. Chapter 1026. Jun Moxie waved his hands innocently and said with some helplessness, "I don't know, I'm also not sure, just what was going on here." Regarding this matter, it was truly out of Jun Dashao's expectations. That piece of stone was actually the spirit vein fragment that he had knocked off when he was with Mei Shiyan the last time. A large portion of it had been taken away by Mei Shiyan to increase the strength of the Tian Fa forest. When they returned, Jun Emosia still had a few small pieces in his possession, and he had taken out the smallest of them this time. The young Master Jun had thought that this stone was a good thing. In fact, it was enough to intimidate the entire audience. But how could he have imagined that such a small thing would cause such a stir? This was too shocking, right? Although his older brother had thought of the start of the matter, he had not thought of the process and the result. After the shock, everyone's eyes turned to stare fixedly at Jun Moxie. This brat is truly King heaven-defying to actually take out such a good thing. This Mo brat, this stone, cough cough, where did you get it from? Miao Jingyun's words caused everyone's ears to perk up. That's right, since there was a first piece, there might be a second piece. If they knew the exact location, or if there was a third piece, a fourth piece, if there were any more discoveries, then it would really be air. It's like this around 7 or 8 years old. Jun Moxie began to make up stories. This was his forte. There was nothing to eat that time, and I was extremely hungry. So I went into the mountains to look for wild fruits to eat. Then I suddenly met with a landslide, and I was almost buried alive. That time I was really too unlucky," young Master June explained vividly, and everyone present heaved a sigh of relief as they suddenly realized what was going on. No wonder. So it was a landslide. I was wondering why such a good thing would land in the hands of this brat. He actually said that he was unlucky after obtaining such a thing? Is this called unlucky? Why didn't I encounter such an unlucky thing? When the group of peak experts heard June Dashao's description, they all had the same thought. Just when I thought I was going to die, there were 2 bangs. 2 rocks hit my head, and I almost fainted. June Monsieur rubbed his head with some lingering fear in his heart. Then I reached out and took these 2 stones. One of them was a little smaller, and it was still a little soft to my touch. I was too hungry at that time, and this stone actually had a nice fragrance, so I swallowed the smaller one. I was too hungry, so I didn't care about anything else. When Dashao said this, all the experts stamped their feet and pounded their chests. What a pity! This was truly a cow chewing on a peony. This was a real waste of a heavenly treasure. After I ate it, I felt full immediately. Then, I slept for a while, and when I woke up, I still didn't feel hungry. Even the scratches from the landslide had healed. My stomach wasn't hungry anymore, so I naturally felt energetic and wanted to go home. At that time, I thought that the stone should be a good thing, at least it could be eaten. I could use it to stave off my hunger in the future. I conveniently kept the other stone in my bosom. When my master found me, I showed him the stone, but he didn't recognize it. He didn't know what it was, so he just told me to keep it safe. So, I kept it until today. June Moxie smiled shyly. Today is the manor head's birthday, and I really don't have anything to show. So, I took out this thing to make up for it. This thing is not bad, right? Not bad, right? All the experts almost fainted from the shock of his words. Not only was it not bad, it was simply too good. He actually didn't have anything to show. Even if you want to beat someone up, you can't beat them like this. If this thing could not be taken out, what else could be taken out under the heavens? At the same time, everyone broke out in cold sweat. This brat actually dared to carry such a treasure around with him, and even took it out so casually for so many people to see? Thinking of this, everyone almost couldn't breathe. Too dangerous. What if someone saw this thing earlier and happened to recognize it? Then, would it even be our turn? Also, this fellow actually carried it around in his bosom, thinking of taking it out to stave off his hunger when he ran out of food? This King brat actually carried a big steamed bun around with him? Everyone's minds were in chaos. At the same time, they rejoiced in their hearts. It was all thanks to the peace and prosperity of Tianxiang Empire. If this brat had starved, the consequences would have been unimaginable. That mountain, what's it called? Miao Jingyun represented everyone and asked the question that everyone wanted to ask the most. That mountain is just a barren mountain. It doesn't have a specific name, but when I went down the mountain, I heard the villagers say that it's called Mount Everest. June Moxie said carefully. He snickered in his heart. Old fellows, go ahead and search. Even if you turn the entire world upside down, you won't be able to find Mount Everest. Mount Everest. Everyone let out a long sigh at the same time. They secretly and firmly engraved this strange name in the depths of their hearts. Seniors, from what I saw earlier, could it be that this stone is really very precious? June Dashao put on a naive expression and pretended to be innocent. Precious? This kind of godly item, how can it be described with the word precious? A venerable expert said fiercely. Also, don't use the term this stone or that stone to evaluate it. Such terms are simply blasphemy towards this godly item. The stone that you're talking about is the legendary heavenly jade. Do you understand now? This time, even those who were still in a state of confusion and didn't know what that stone was, all burst into an uproar. Heavenly jade! It's actually heavenly jade! It's actually the legendary heavenly jade that's rumored to be able to increase one's cultivation by several hundred years just by scraping off a bit of its powder. Heavenly jade, ah! Ah! In that instant, everyone's eyes turned red. Seeing this scene, Miao Jing-yun glared angrily at that Saint Venerable. That Saint Venerable also knew that he'd misspoken, and his face turned red. Cough cough, everyone, please be quiet for a moment and listen to this old man. Miao Jing-yun coughed twice and gestured for everyone to quieten down. A moment later, everyone finally quietened down. But everyone's faces were still flushed with excitement. Today's gifts. As Miao Jing-yun spoke, he subconsciously looked towards the table. Only then did he realize that the table had already been cleaned up. The originally dazzling and expensive birthday gifts on the table had already turned into a mess of rubbish. Cough cough cough. Although the gifts had all turned into rubbish, Manor Lord Miao was still extremely happy in his heart. Now that he'd obtained the heavenly jade, even if all these gifts were turned into ashes, he wouldn't care about it. Coughing dryly again, he said nonchalantly, "Of course, Mo Jun-ye's gift suits this old man the most, and is also the most precious and unique. Furthermore, it has a deeper meaning to it. I believe that no one will have any more objections, right?" All the old fogies nodded their heads like chickens pecking at rice. Precious and unique is not necessarily the most profound, but it suits your heart the most, and it's the most correct. In fact, it's completely beyond your expectations. What a joke! If such a godly item still couldn't snatch the first place in today's gift, then it would be too unreasonable. Since no one has any objections, then Mo Junyi shall be the son-in-law of our Miao family, the husband of that last Xiao Miao. Today can be considered as a double celebration. First, it's this old man's 500th birthday celebration. Second, it's the day that my granddaughter, Xiao Miao, has found her ideal husband. Everyone, please drink to your heart's content and drink until you're drunk. Following this sentence, the crowd burst into an uproar once again. Many of the younger generation's eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Look at this old man. He's really AI. He only gave out a piece of jade that he didn't even know what it was, and he obtained such a beautiful wife. AI, comparisons are truly infuriating. Old Manor Lord Miao is also too much. No matter how precious that gift is, could it be that you're going to sell your own granddaughter just like that? All the good cabbages have been taken away by that thing. Miao Jing-yun had just finished speaking when Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng stood out with a flushed face. Today is the day that my little disciple Jun Yi and Miss Miao are engaged, and also Manor Lord's 500th birthday. It's truly a double celebration. This one, Chao Guofeng, is also honored. Not only was he honored, Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng's grin was so wide that it almost reached his cheeks. All the experts looked at that lucky Holy Emperor Chao Guofeng with envy and jealousy. Many of them felt that it was unfair in their hearts, and they almost wanted to give Chao Holy Emperor a good beating. What the hell are you so proud of? Look at how your old face is smiling like a chrysanthemum. It's so King irritating. The moment Chao Guofeng came out, Bai Chi Feng and the rest all stood behind him, looking around proudly. They had a share in the disciple's wife's tea in the future as well. Just thinking about it was enough to satisfy one's craving. When Chao Guofeng finished speaking, the MC jumped out again. Now, may we invite the two newlyweds to exchange their betrothal items, and pledge to be together for 100 years. Following the loud voice, Miao Xiao Miao no longer had that heroic air from before. She was so embarrassed that her entire body almost went soft, but her heart was filled with happiness and satisfaction. Madame Miao took out a wooden sword that was completely black in color and passed it over solemnly. Everyone present let out a series of exclamations. The origins of this wooden sword were not simple, but it was made from the wood core of the rainbow holy tree. When worn on the body, it could cleanse one's heart and eyes, and make one immune to all evils. It could be considered an extremely rare treasure. When it was June Moxie's turn, Da Xiao was in a difficult position. Chapter 10:27. As for the other treasures, it didn't matter whether it was those 10,000-year-old elixirs or heavenly treasures. They were easy for the young master to obtain. However, those things weren't hidden at all. In fact, any one of them was enough to shock the world. And Jun Moxie couldn't possibly possess them with his current status. So, how could he obtain them by luck? Would anyone believe it? After much deliberation, Jun Moxie finally took out a small jade bottle and laughed dryly. I really have nothing on me. But these are 3 pills that my master spent his entire life savings and entrusted an old friend to buy for him. At that time, he said that only those who have reached the realm of Shun Xian and above are qualified to consume these 3 pills. I have failed to live up to my master's expectations and am still far from it, but Miss Miao has already surpassed that limit. I will use this as a betrothal gift. Everyone once again did not know whether to laugh or cry. This great prodigy Mo was really ingenious in the way he did things. First, he gave a stone as a birthday gift, and now, he actually gave medicine as a betrothal gift. Oh, but what kind of pill is it? To actually have such a strange restriction? A Saint Venerable suddenly stood out. No matter how Jun Moxie looked at this person, he felt that he was somewhat familiar, but no matter how he looked, he could not remember where he had seen this old man before. This senior is an elder of our Miao family. If we were to talk about seniority, he is 2 generations higher than grandfather. This old ancestor is called Miao Bujian. The old ancestor can be said to have devoted his entire life to the study of herbs and plants. He has extremely high attainments in this area. In our misty mansion, he has the title of King of Medicine. Miao Xiao Miao leaned close to Da Xiao's ear and introduced him in a low voice. Jun Moxie only felt an intoxicating fragrance assaulting him. Miao Xiao Miao's soft petal-like lips almost touched his skin. Da Xiao instantly felt a numbness all over his body, and almost did not hear what she said clearly. He subconsciously turned his head slightly, and Miao Xiao Miao could not dodge in time. Her lips instantly touched Jun Moxie's ear, and her face was instantly dyed with a layer of red. She quietly rolled her eyes at him and said in a low voice, "You're so bad." Jun Moxie chuckled, thinking to himself, women do not like bad men. Miao Bujian received the jade bottle, opening it and sniffing it lightly. His expression instantly turned serious. After a long while, he solemnly said, "These 3 pills are naturally not as magical as the heavenly jade, but they are still priceless treasures. Any one of these pills contains an unusually large amount of pure spiritual energy. If one were to consume it, it would indeed have the miraculous effect of increasing one's power. Moreover, there wouldn't be any side effects. No wonder the requirements for consuming this pill are so high. If someone below the Spirit Xian realm were to consume this pill rashly, their body would immediately explode and die. This is truly a miraculous pill." As he spoke, he let out a long sigh, his eyes staring at the small jade bottle as he muttered, "This old man has been obsessed with the path of pills all his life, but I never thought that there would actually be such an amazing method of stealing the fortune of heaven and earth in this world. In terms of medicinal efficacy, this pill is somewhat similar to the pills auctioned by the aristocratic hall in Xian Continent's Tianxiang City some time ago, but in terms of actual function, it is far inferior. It can be said to be a peerless treasure that is rarely seen in this world." Jun Moxie was slightly startled. He actually knew about the aristocratic hall's pills? No wonder he felt a sense of familiarity when he saw him. But who was this person? "I don't believe it." The one who spoke was the ashen-faced and crippled Chiu Peng. He had just been thrown out by the airwave of countless peak experts and actually fainted for quite a while. He had just come in, but he heard the news of Miao Xiao Miao's engagement on the spot. Not only was it an engagement, but they were also exchanging tokens of engagement on the spot. How could Qiu Peng endure such a change? The bewitched Qiu Dashao immediately shouted without a care. "Aren't you guys too much? Even if you're sure that Mo Junyi has the free and natural physique and has a limitless future, but one thing he takes out is a peerless treasure? One is, and so is the other. How can a country bumpkin like him have so many good things? This is too fake. Are you trying to fool a 3-year-old? Do you doubt the conclusion that this old man has given?" Miao Bujian's eyes slanted as he asked disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? How dare you doubt this old man's judgment? Evil creature! Hurry up and back down!" Qiu Qing Yun hurriedly shouted, then hurriedly smiled apologetically at Miao Bujian. "Old Senior Miao, please be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to the level of this ignorant junior. When we return, I will definitely teach this useless thing a good lesson." Apart from being extremely strong and having reached the Saint Venerable realm, Miao Bujian also had the reputation of the king of medicine. No matter who was seriously injured in the Misty Mansion, even if others were helpless, as long as this old man made a move, the illness would be cured and the dead would be revived. He could be said to be the most popular and extremely special existence in the Misty Mansion. Not to mention that he was an elder of 2 generations in the Miao family. Although Qiu Qingyun was also the head of the family, if he really angered Miao Bujian, he would most likely fall into the miserable situation of being ganged up on by the people of the Misty Mansion. Miao Bujian snorted heavily and said, "Ignorant child. What kind of upbringing does your Qiu family have? Today is the manor head's birthday. Such an ignorant child making irresponsible remarks, could it be that he's here to stir up trouble?" As he said this, Qiu Qingyun's face was instantly covered with soybean-sized beads of sweat. This crime was really not light, not to mention that Qiu Peng alone could not bear it, even the entire Qiu family would have a hard time. "It's all right, please calm down, Senior Miao. Since someone has doubts, why not let Miss Miao consume one on the spot and test its effect? After all, this junior is also quite curious about the final gift my teacher gave me," June Moxie said with a faint smile. What he took out was the Heaven Extremes pill. Consuming one could increase one's pure cultivation by 60 years. The most special thing about this pill was that it could be repeatedly consumed. As long as no more than 3 pills were consumed, the pill's effects would be completely absorbed by the user. In other words, these 3 pills could increase anyone's pure cultivation by 180 years. To those who did not understand the art of alchemy, this was definitely an incredible miracle. It was reasonable for some people to be suspicious. Alright. To be honest, Miao Bujian was also very interested in seeing the specific effects of this pill. He only thought about it for a moment before agreeing. From the aura emitted by the pill earlier, he could tell that the increase in strength of the person who consumed it was probably not a small amount. If he was able to witness someone consume such a miraculous pill and break through, it would definitely open up a whole new world to him. Therefore, Miao Bujian could not wait any longer. "Are you really confident?" Miao Xiao Miao held a pill in her hand, her beautiful eyes sparkling as she looked at June Moxie with some worry. "Don't worry, it'll be fine," June Moxie sent a reassuring smile. "Just take it, my master won't lie to you." "I believe you." Miao Xiao Miao looked at him affectionately and sent the pill into her mouth before sitting down cross-legged. Even if what June Moxie took out was poison, Miao Xiao Miao would swallow it without hesitation at this moment to prove its authenticity. What's more, it was an elixir of this level? Although Miao Xiao Miao did not know the effects of this pill, she still swallowed it without hesitation out of her unreserved trust in June Moxie. The moment the pill entered her stomach, Miao Xiao Miao immediately felt an exceptionally pure xian qi surging up from her dantian. In an instant, the xian qi in her body was like dry firewood encountering a raging fire, burning up with a loud bang. This sudden burst of xian qi was felt by all the venerable and above experts present. Feeling the raging spirit qi in the air, everyone's gazes turned heated as they looked at the little jade bottle. At this moment, there was no longer any doubt that this pill could increase one's cultivation. Protector! Miao Jing-yun exclaimed in shock. He immediately went behind his granddaughter and placed his palm on her back, circulating his xian qi to help Miao Xiao Miao digest the medicinal effects. Right now, it was clear that the xian qi in Miao Xiao Miao's body had already met the requirements for a breakthrough. Who would have thought that Miao Bujian's seemingly exaggerated analysis would turn out to be too small? Just a small pill like this actually had such tyrannical medicinal effects? Under Miao Jingyun's saint venerable cultivation, Miao Xiao Miao did not spend too much time to completely digest the medicinal effects of this heaven extremes pill. Standing up slowly, she felt her entire body brimming with energy, and the xian qi in her meridians flowed endlessly. She'd actually broken through the bottleneck and reached the second level of the venerable realm. Such a shocking breakthrough, the beauty was naturally both shocked and overjoyed. Shit! Miao Jingyun's face changed as he exclaimed in a low voice. Following these words, the originally clear and bright sky suddenly became overcast. A huge black cloud slowly formed in the sky, and then slowly rotated, slowly forming the shape of a deep-colored round eye in the middle. The appearance of the eye, the heavenly tribulation. Miao Xiao Miao's accidental breakthrough had actually attracted the heavenly tribulation. Everyone's faces changed. She'd only consumed a single pill, and it immediately attracted the heavenly tribulation. Just how heaven-defying was this pill? But after the initial shock, everyone immediately fell into a state of worry. If Miao Xiao Miao had cultivated on her own and accumulated her strength to reach the point of breaking through, then passing through the heavenly tribulation would not be a big deal. Although it would not be easy, it would definitely not be too difficult. After all, the heavenly tribulation of a second-level venerable was only the beginning of the lightning tribulation, and its power was not very strong. But right now, Miao Xiao Miao had borrowed the medicinal effects of the pill to reach the point of breaking through in one go. Not only had her cultivation not stabilized, she could not even control her newly obtained xian qi as she pleased. If she wanted to pass through the heavenly tribulation, the difficulty would be rather high, but for something like the heavenly tribulation, outsiders could not help rashly. Once they tried to help, they would only be dragging themselves into it. Most importantly, the heavenly tribulation would adjust the strength of the lightning tribulation according to the strength of the helper. If they acted rashly, not only would they not help, they would instead harm Miao Xiao Miao. Recommending a new book, my good friend Wu Shan-yun's latest masterpiece, Lord of Evil. Everyone knows who Wu Shan-yun is. Just by looking at his name, you can guess how perverted this person is. This fellow has always claimed to be swaying between awesome A and awesome C. I don't know what's in between, but this fellow's new book is really good. I just read a few chapters and fell into it. Cough cough, everyone, don't leak the fact that this fellow has a manuscript. Even if you leak it, don't say it's from me. But it's said that it's worth hundreds of thousands. So everyone can rest assured and collect it. Also, this fellow is trying to get into the new book rankings this week. Everyone should go and support him, give him a few recommendation votes, and let him be surprised by the great power of us evil monarchs brothers. Ha ha. At the same time, it seems that I can also earn a drink. Just treat it as everyone treating me to a drink, and Wu Shan paid. Oh yeah. This kind of big shot. It would be a waste not to take advantage of him. So, everyone help me take advantage of him. Chapter 10:28. Could it be that today's joyous day was going to turn into a tragedy because of this sudden heavenly tribulation? In that instant, everyone present glared at Xiao Ping fiercely. If it weren't for you, brat, How could such a shameful thing have happened? After today, Chiu Peng had become a street rat in the Misty Mansion, to the point where everyone wanted to beat him up. Moreover, this kid had a new nickname, Unlucky Idiot. Naturally, it meant that no matter where this kid went, he would bring bad luck to others. This outstanding nickname made Chiu Peng feel like he was cut off from the world. It was too tragic. Miao Xiao Miao's expression also changed. She looked at June Moxie but did not say anything. Instead, she turned around and walked out. This young girl had resolutely chosen to face it alone, not to implicate others. No one spoke, because at this time, no matter who spoke, it would only affect Miao Xiao Miao's current state of mind, thus affecting the success or failure of the heavenly tribulation. Furthermore, they did not follow her out, because if they were too close, the heavenly tribulation would automatically think that they had entered the range of the heavenly tribulation. Then, it would bring unimaginable negative effects to Miao Xiao Miao. No matter how worried everyone was, they could only look on helplessly as Miao Xiao Miao's resolute figure shot out like she was flying. Following Miao Xiao Miao's swift departure, the heavenly tribulation clouds in the sky also moved away. All the experts present had a look of pity on their faces, obviously not optimistic about Xiao Miao's chances of passing the heavenly tribulation this time. Madame Miao's body swayed, and she almost fainted. It was only because of Miao Huan Yu's support that she did not collapse, but tears flowed down her cheeks. My poor daughter, today, she had just obtained the happiness she had been longing for. Is she going to lose it now? Heavens! Why are you so cruel? Why are you so unfair? I'll go and take a look. June Moxie was stunned for a moment, but he quickly followed, running all the way. Don't go. Miao Huan Yu had just said. With the meager strength of great prodigy Mo, he wouldn't be of any help at all. He would only be a burden. But he was stopped by Miao Jingyun. Miao Jingyun sucked in a deep breath and said, with his strength, it's not enough to increase Xiao Miao's burden. Let him go and put in some effort. Rare, truly rare. This kid is actually able to take on such responsibility at such a critical moment of life and death. It truly makes me feel gratified. Miao Huanyu nodded and said in a hoarse voice, Xiao Miao did not misjudge him. A mournful smile appeared on Madame Miao's pale face as she said, To live and die with you, Mo Junyi, it is only at this moment that I have truly acknowledged him as my son-in-law. He is not afraid of death for Xiao Miao. Xiao Miao following him, no matter if it is in the heavens or on the earth, it will not be in vain. As her mother, I can finally rest assured. In the great hall, everyone's faces were heavy. Especially those youngsters. Many of them had a look of shame on their faces. Just now, they were still calling Xiao Miao their little sister, saying that they would give her happiness and sacrifice themselves for her. But at this critical moment, the one who was truly willing to live and die with Miao Xiao Miao was only Mo Junyi. As for the top experts of the older generation, their hearts were in turmoil. Right now, Mo Junye's actions could not be said to be living and dying with Miao Xiao Miao, but he was directly sending himself to his death. It must be known that the heavenly tribulation was calculated based on the number of people involved and their strength. Although Mo Junyi had the legendary free and natural physique, his cultivation was only at the Gold Xian realm. With his participation in the heavenly tribulation, the power of the heavenly tribulation would increase slightly, but this increase would be shared between the two of them. The pressure that Miao Xiao Miao had to bear would be reduced by a lot, but correspondingly, Mo Junyi would have to face a dangerous situation where he had a slim chance of survival. This action of Mo Dashao was equivalent to using his own life to exchange for a greater chance of survival for Miao Xiao Miao. Such sincerity, how could anyone not be moved? The Qiu family's patriarch, Qiu Qingyun, looked at his grandson angrily and pointed at him with a trembling finger. His face was pale with anger. You bastard! Look at the trouble you've caused. I really don't know what to say to you. When you return this time, immediately go into seclusion for this old man. Without this old man's orders, you are not allowed to come out. At this time, the sound of thunder had already resounded in the distance. Silver snake-like bolts of lightning struck down one after another. Although the location of the heavenly tribulation was extremely far from here, it still caused the area to flicker between bright and dark. From this, it could be determined that Miao Xiao Miao had chosen a relatively remote place to undergo the heavenly tribulation, and had not affected any of the people in the misty mansion. Li Xingyu's face was as black as water, and his temples were throbbing. It was obvious that the anger in his heart was already uncontrollable. Suddenly, Lengling said, "Brother Qiu, didn't you always boast that you like Sister Xiao Miao? Now that Sister Xiao Miao has encountered the heavenly tribulation, Brother Mo, who is only at the Gold Xian realm, has already rushed over to help Sister Xiao Miao resist the heavenly tribulation. You've always boasted that your love for Sister Xiao Miao is as deep as the ocean, so why haven't you gone over yet?" Qiupeng looked at the lightning outside, and his face couldn't help but turn pale. He trembled and said, This is her heavenly tribulation. What does it have to do with me? I'm not going. If you want to court death, then go ahead. Li Xingyu snorted and said, If it wasn't for your words just now, how could such a thing have happened? Isn't this all because of your jealousy? And now, you still have the nerve to say such words. Do you still have any shame? Qiupeng forced himself to maintain his spirit, and reluctantly said, What I've asked just now is nothing more than what everyone else is thinking. It's just that they borrowed my mouth to ask, so what does it have to do with me? Lady Miao is now Mo Junye's fiancée, so it's only right that he rush over. Why should I go? If Lady Miao was betrothed to me today, I would have gone long ago. This sentence caused everyone to hiss and hiss. Looking at this fellow's cowardly behavior, who was scared witless, no one would believe that he would go. In order to cut off the connection, he had even changed the little sister Xiao Miao that he had always been talking about to Lady Miao. Madame Miao looked at him with disdain, thinking that it was fortunate that she hadn't followed the family's wishes and chosen her daughter's lifelong partner from these aristocratic families. Look at him, he's clearly afraid of death, but he's still trying to quibble. How could he be worthy of her daughter? Miao Xiao Miao flew all the way. Although she looked calm on the surface, her heart was in a mess. Today was the happiest day of her life, because she had finally exchanged the marriage ceremony with him and became his woman. This was the home that she had longed for all her life. But today, she had also attracted her heavenly tribulation. If she couldn't overcome it, then she would turn into ashes. Junyi, why is my life so bitter? I really want to spend the rest of my life with you, bear your children, grow old with you, hold your hand and grow old with you, but I don't know if the heavens are willing to give me this chance. As the dark clouds gathered, lightning flashed and thunder roared even more fiercely. She finally arrived at a desolate place, and the storm that had been brewing in the sky for a long time finally fell. In an instant, the world turned misty. The tribulation clouds in the sky became thicker and thicker, and the rotation became slower and slower. The first lightning tribulation was about to strike. Just at this moment, a series of quick but clear footsteps could be heard. Why would there be someone who dared to come in the middle of the tribulation? Who was it? Miao Xiao Miao turned around in shock. She saw a white figure moving at an extremely fast speed in the midst of the heavy rain. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of her. An extremely ordinary face with a pair of sincere, smiling eyes. The person who had come was Mo Junyi. My fiancé. In that instant, Miao Xiao Miao almost fainted. A strong sense of happiness and great worry invaded her heart in an instant. Why are you here? What are you doing here? Go back quickly. Don't come any closer, don't come over, don't. Miao Xiao Miao cried out in panic. She wasn't worried about herself at all. Her eyes were filled with worry for this ordinary young man in front of her. It's too dangerous. Although it's dangerous for me to undergo the tribulation here, there's still a sliver of hope. But with his insignificant cultivation, it's no different from sending him to his death. How could you forget? We're already engaged. You see, she's my wife now, my woman. June Moxie smiled gently. Wherever my wife is, I'll naturally be there. Husband and wife are one. How can I let my wife bear the burden alone when something happens? Isn't that too damaging to my pride as a man? Don't tell me we're really going to go our separate ways in the face of disaster? I don't care about other people's choices, but I definitely won't do that. You. Meow Xiao Meow could only say one word before tears started to flow down, blurring her vision. My fiancé. The person whom I love with my heart. He rushed over at the critical moment of my life and death, to share life and death with me. He clearly knew that this was no different from sending himself to his death. But he still came without any hesitation. At this moment, Meow Xiao Meow's heart was filled with boundless emotions and immense happiness. Although this young man's words were very vulgar, but she knew that he said it on purpose, in order to reduce the pressure in her heart. Meow Xiao Meow looked at June Moxie in a daze. At this moment, she had completely forgotten about the tribulation clouds in the sky. Forgot to gather her profound energy and prepare for battle. Forgot that she was on the brink of death. She only looked at him without blinking, as though she wanted to carve this face into her heart, no matter if it was for life or death. To remember it firmly. Junyi, my lover. All of a sudden, all the hesitation, reluctance, fear, self-pity, and unease in Meow Xiao Meow's heart disappeared. The only thing left was her strong willpower, and incomparably immense self-confidence. Today I must persevere on. For him. I can't die. I must not die. Chapter 10:29. No. June Moxie shook his head and smiled calmly. This trial belongs to the two of us. We have to fight side by side. Not just this trial, even the next trial, the one after that, we'll get through it together. Believe me, with me here, we'll definitely make it. Meow Xiao Meow bit her lip and nodded deeply. Then, she quietly moved her feet and leaned her soft and alluring body into this man's embrace. Her head lightly pressed against his shoulder, Meow Xiao Meow murmured, June, I'm so happy, so blessed to have you in this life. Even if I can't get through this tribulation, I have no regrets in this life. June Moxie hugged her and said in a low voice, How can there be no regrets? You haven't even given birth to 17 or 18 sons and daughters for me, and you still want to hold my hand and grow old with me. You're saying that you have no regrets in this life so easily? That's too unambitious of you. Even if you have no regrets, I won't agree to it. The heavy rain poured down and their clothes were soaked in an instant. The weather was hot and the clothes they wore were thin and breathable. Meow Xiao Meow's clothes were sticking to her body, revealing her curves. Hugging each other like this was no different from hugging each other naked. But in their hearts there wasn't any lust. There was only true love, that's all. At this moment, an abnormally firm belief rose in Meow Xiao Meow's heart. Junyi is with me. Nothing must happen to him. If I can't hold on, he'll probably die with me. But I won't allow that to happen. If I feel that I can't hold on any longer, I'll kill myself first. If I die, the heavenly tribulation will naturally disappear as well. That way, nothing will happen to Junyi. Thunder boomed in the sky. A silver snake coiled down. It struck towards Meow Xiao Meow's head. The first wave of heavenly tribulation had finally arrived. Step back. The moment Meow Xiao Meow woke up from her stupor, the profound energy in her entire body started to circulate crazily. Even though she was busy, she still spontaneously used a gentle force to push June Moxie to the side. One must know that Meow Xiao Meow was at the critical moment of passing the tribulation. At this time, Any bit of profound energy could cause the failure of passing the tribulation. However, in order to keep her beloved slightly away from danger, Miao Xiao Miao was still not stingy with that gentle but strong force. She pushed Jun Moxie away, then her delicate body soared up and faced the flash of lightning in midair. Even if they were underground, they would still affect the person they loved. The only way was to neutralize the threat in midair. With a loud boom, Miao Xiao Miao, who was facing the first bolt of lightning tribulation, let out a muffled groan as her body plummeted 30 zhang down. But that bolt of lightning had also dissipated into nothingness. Before she had time to catch her breath, the second lightning once again shone with a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the heavens and earth. It snaked through the clouds and struck down at an extremely fast speed. After the second loud sound, Miao Xiao Miao fell back to the ground. Jun Moxie watched this scene from the side. His pupils contracted, but his expression remained calm. It wasn't that Da Xiao didn't want to directly use the Hongjun Pagoda to stop the heavenly tribulation and end this game. However, this game was the first time that Miao Xiao Miao had personally experienced the heavenly tribulation. No matter what, he had to let her experience it personally. Only by personally experiencing the power of the heavens and earth would she be able to obtain the corresponding enlightenment and truly possess the strength of a venerable. This was like a phoenix bathing in flames, undergoing nirvana rebirth. If Jun Moxie ended this dangerous game right from the start, not only would it not be good for Miao Xiao Miao's future development, it would also be extremely disadvantageous. He would also lose the original intention of giving away the Heaven Extremes pill. He could only wait until she really couldn't hold on any longer, and then he'd step up. Right now, it all depended on how long she could hold on. 1 bolt, 2 bolts, 5 bolts. Far away, Miao Jingyun, who was in the main hall of the Miao residence, furrowed his brows as he looked at the lightning bolts falling from the sky. His expression became more and more solemn. The venerable heavenly tribulation that Miao Xiao Miao was facing this time was filled with danger, but the duration of the tribulation was relatively short. There were only 9 bolts of lightning, and it was the most ordinary heavenly tribulation. If not for the fact that the Heaven Extremes pill had increased her cultivation a little too much, causing Miao Xiao Miao to directly cross the threshold of the tribulation without any time to prepare, it really wouldn't be considered a difficult heavenly tribulation. It's already 7 bolts. As long as she can endure the last 2 bolts, she can be considered to have passed this tribulation. Don't worry, madam. Xiao Miao will definitely be able to pass through safely, definitely. Miao Huanyu was also counting the number of times the lightning bolts had fallen. Although his expression was calm, Madame Miao, who was leaning against him, could feel her husband's hand trembling as he grabbed her shoulder, causing a piercing pain. This hand was originally supporting her. Madame Miao laughed bitterly and endured the intense pain as she looked at the thick black clouds in the distance. Although her husband looked like he didn't care about anything and was always calm and collected, his love for his daughter was not any less than hers. He told her not to worry and said that she would definitely be able to pass through. Rather than saying that he was comforting her, it was more accurate to say that he was comforting himself. In her entire life, this was the first time she'd seen him so anxious. There's still some lightning tribulation left. That means that the two of them are still undergoing the tribulation and will be fine, Miao Jingyun said in a low voice. It was unknown if he was saying this to himself or to someone else. It seemed as if he was comforting himself, but also as if he was seeking a guarantee. It's already 7 bolts. Miao Xiao Miao looked stubbornly at the tribulation clouds in the sky. A strand of her black hair was tightly clenched in her mouth. She said to herself in her heart, "As long as I can endure 2 more bolts, this heavenly punishment will be over. I'll be able to be with Junyi forever. He told me earlier that he wants to hold my hand and grow old together with me." She turned her head subconsciously and looked at the white-robed youth standing not far away. She saw a look of deep concern on that youth's ordinary face under the illumination of the lightning. Although Miao Xiao Miao was feeling extremely uncomfortable all over her body, an inexplicable sweetness suddenly welled up in her heart. An indescribable energy once again filled her body. I will definitely be able to pull through. I will definitely be able to. A stubborn look flashed in Miao Xiao Miao's eyes. The happiness that I've been chasing for so long is right before my eyes. I will definitely not give up. Even if I have to risk my life, I will grab it in my hands. Thunder rumbled in the sky. An unprecedentedly powerful bolt of lightning suddenly pierced through the clouds and pounced down like a flying dragon. Following the sudden appearance of this bolt of lightning, a crackling sound could be heard in the air. Furthermore, the thickness of this bolt of lightning was at least twice as thick as the previous bolt of lightning. At this moment, the air was filled with a suffocating pressure. Silver snake dance. Purple lightning empyrean. That bolt of lightning, which contained unprecedented power, had already reached the top of Miao Xiao Miao's head in the blink of an eye. Miao Xiao Miao could clearly feel that in the face of this bolt of lightning, the power that she possessed was completely unable to withstand a single blow. Forcefully resisting it was like an ant trying to shake a tree. The power of this bolt of lightning had already exceeded the scope of the heavenly punishment that a level 2 venerable could withstand. In fact, it was far beyond that. Even if the Holy Emperor were to personally face this bolt of lightning, he would not be able to withstand it. Why did this happen? What's going on? Could it be that the heavens are unwilling to let me obtain the true love that I've yearned for? Naturally, Miao Xiao Miao did not know that because of Jun Dashao's intervention, it had triggered a mutation in Tian Fa. The Holy Emperor's level 4 powers that he had concealed might not be visible to the world, but Tian Fa would never make a mistake. Furthermore, there was a mutation. This bolt of lightning struck down according to the power of the Holy Emperor's heavenly punishment. Furthermore, it was the maximum power of the Holy Emperor's heavenly punishment. Miao Xiao Miao was filled with despair as she turned to look in Jun Moxie's direction and cried softly, "Jun, I'm sorry, looks like I can't accompany you anymore. It's destined that we won't be able to grow old together." The bolt of lightning was about to strike her. Miao Xiao Miao drew out her long sword with a swoosh. Not to resist the lightning, but to commit suicide. The lightning tribulation was coming for her. As long as she died, everything would disappear. But Miao Xiao Miao's pupils instantly dilated to the maximum. Because she clearly saw that idiot, he was actually flying towards her at full speed. "What are you doing here? Don't come over." Miao Xiao Miao, who had originally wanted to commit suicide, instantly panicked. "Idiot! As long as I die first, this heavenly punishment will be over. You'll be safe. What are you doing here at this time? Quickly go back." Miao Xiao Miao's tears flowed out of her eyes. In the next moment she felt a warm and strong body pressing down on her, covering her entire body under that comforting body. But this action filled with concern caused Miao Xiao Miao's heart to break and her soul to break. The long sword in her hand flew out with a clang. Miao Xiao Miao's heart suddenly ached and she suddenly burst into tears. "Junyi, I don't want to. I don't want you to sacrifice yourself for me. I'd rather die myself, die 1,000 times, die 10,000 times. I also want you to live on well." But she knew that it was too late. Everything was too late. That terrifying bolt of lightning had already struck the body above her. That body seemed to twitch violently for a moment, then stopped moving. "Junyi!" Miao Xiao Miao's face was filled with tears as she suddenly screamed at the top of her lungs. Her screams were filled with despair and deathly stillness in the great hall. "No! This is impossible!" Miao Jingyun jumped up with a whose sound as he stared at that strange bolt of lightning. He was in a daze. There was a hint of red within the dazzling white lightning. That was clearly the Holy Emperor's heavenly tribulation. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. What was going on? Could it be that a holy emperor expert had accidentally interfered with Miao Xiao Miao's heavenly tribulation and caused it to mutate? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.